Part 24. Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Shueshi. Chapter 231. Hiss. Yuren moved forward at full speed. Then suddenly, not far from Gu Tianqing, there was a sudden stop. Demon King. Gu Tianqing. Yulin held a broad-blade long knife in her hand and stared at the changes in Gu Tianqing's body. Although Gu Tianqing was silent, there was still a faint smile on her face, but it was obvious that this expression was just Gu Tianqing's habitual pretense. After the trident was broken, the skin on Gu Tianqing's face was disintegrating and peeling off at a speed that could be discerned by the naked eye. Behind the peeling skin, drops of fishy blood seeped out as if for nothing. Yulin had already figured out Gu Tianqing's current situation, and laughed and said, "What? Why don't you come together?" When Gu Tianqing heard this, she couldn't laugh or cry immediately, but she held her chest with a little more force and said, "You're like this, it's hard for us to make friends happily. Okay, I'll go by myself. Please, please do it quickly." Yulin smiled and replied, "It's hard to say, the other party is so hot, so tall, so hot." Gu Tianqing suddenly took a breath, not knowing whether it was from the sequelae of the curse being lifted, or because he had made up his mind. Suddenly, Gu Tianqing pulled out a card from the storage space. Not a prop card, but one of the tarot cards from that set. Gu Tianqing looked into Yulin's eyes with a calm expression, "This is my sincerity." Yulin's eyes narrowed further, "Then we have to see how sincere you are." Gu Tianqing was speechless. But there was not much time, so Gu Tianqing stopped talking nonsense. With a flick of his palm, the black card came to Yulin in the blink of an eye. And at this time, Yulin also saw the face of the card clearly. On the tarot card, there was an image of a ferocious demon. Behind the demon, there seemed to be an abyss, filled with boundless darkness. Yulin hesitated for 2 seconds. Gu Tianqing was afraid that Yulin would drag herself to death if she hesitated any longer, so she reminded softly, "I think you can also see that my current state is not suitable for exerting force. This is my sincerity. At this last moment, there is a reason to attack you. Who knows?" Yulin shook her head, but still reached out to the Devil Tarot card. Indeed, anyone who is not blind can see that Gu Tianqing's current state is not optimistic. At the same time, Yulin also speculated that what happened to Gu Tianqing was similar to the sea monster Zhao Xingchen, but not as pitiful as Zhao Xingchen. At the moment when the trident was broken, as Calypso disappeared, some people were happy and some were sad. Yulin's fingers quickly reached for the tarot cards. In an instant, the tarot cards turned into streaks of black light, following Yulin's arms and intertwining endlessly. Acquire buff status, demonized. Gain time limit, 60 seconds. With the buff on her upper body, Yulin, no, to be precise, Elizabeth Lin's body swelled up like a balloon, especially her arms, which had muscles as solid as rocks. Veins were exposed on the muscles, and the tuxedo was stretched tightly by this sudden change, as if it would overflow at any time. "This is..." Yulin was slightly shocked, feeling the surge of power in her body. She didn't expect Gu Tianqing's tarot cards to be able to do this. Is it a purely auxiliary type? Yulin habitually quickly analyzed the capabilities of Gu Tianqing's possessed weapons. While gaining the buff, a violent emotion that seemed to destroy everything in front of him gradually spread from somewhere in his mind. But this didn't affect Yulin's sanity, it just made Yulin feel a little excited. Gu Tianqing urged, "You only have 1 minute, so you must do it as soon as possible." Yulin took a deep look at Gu Tianqing, which was meaningful. He did not tell Gu Tianqing his guess, or maybe Gu Tianqing had no choice but to use this tarot card on Yulin, expecting that Yulin could guess some of the limitations or abilities of his enchanted weapon, and was very helpless. "Ha ha ha. There is not much time." Yulin let out a long roar, and the night dyer activated again with the smell of alcohol. Controlling the night dire, Yulin held a long knife in his hand, crossed the sea, and came to the Demon King. The Demon King seemed to be at the end of his strength. Under various beatings, his body parts were in pieces, and the breathing light on his chest kept flashing. But Yulin didn't dare to be careless. During this 1-minute gain period, Yulin's strength attributes skyrocketed. Gu Tianking's last move was able to prevent Yulin from using the bloodthirsty disaster as his final trump card. Until the last moment, Yulin really didn't want to use the skill that could kill 1,000 enemies at the expense of 800. The Demon King was like a warrior willing to die bravely. When faced with Yulin and Night Dire, who were like ants, he did not dodge or dodge, but directly used his only remaining iron arm to strike hard at Yulin. Yulin's eyes narrowed. Driving a motorcycle with one hand is indeed a bit difficult, but unfortunately Night Dire does not have an automatic driving mode, so Yulin can only do this. Rumble. The air wave exploded, and Yulin suddenly lifted the front of the car. In an instant, Nightmare seemed to have escaped gravity, turned 90 degrees, and ran up the Demon King's legs. Boom! This palm covered the sky and the sun, like a meteorite falling, but it shot into the air. The Night Dire sprayed billowing air waves. Under Yulin's control, it flexibly circled around the Demon King's body, one after another. Lock up. This is truly ignoring the terrain. Yulin felt very emotional. As long as it belongs to terrain, whether it is a dirt road or a ceiling, he can drive up it. With the bonus of his skills, Yulin can control the Night Dire on various terrains without having to be skilled in driving. Slapping his palm in the air, the Demon King seemed stunned for a moment, but he quickly reacted. That ant crawled on himself. Gurgling, sizzling, squeaking dash. Within the Demon King's body, there were waves of meaningless noises that could not be translated. It seems angry, crying, helpless, and lonely. Yulin had no time to appreciate the Demon King's emotions at this moment. Driven by the main mission, either this monster will fall completely, or they will stay in this world and end up like the poor governor. Fighting, there is no reason. It's all just tasks. The Demon King's whole body was twitching wildly, and the damage and joints all over his body were rubbing into horrifying flames. Click, click, click. The Demon King was almost crazy and slapped himself, as if he wanted to slap down the Night Dire crawling on his body. But Yulin would not give the Demon King a chance to scratch his itch, and drove directly along the broken road to the Demon King's back. If you're capable, you'd better scratch your back. Put your hands behind your back and scratch it. As we all know, once it starts to itch, there is an eternal dead spot behind it. Such a huge boss has obvious advantages and sufficient lethality, but its disadvantages are also obvious. Generally speaking, it is not too flexible, relatively speaking. Yulin inserted the giant blade into the Demon King's armor with her backhand, and with the powerful driving force of the Night Dire, she tore out hideous scars on the armor. Not enough, not enough. The Demon King howled. Unfortunately, the strength of Yulin's telekinesis at this moment is not enough to support Yulin's weight. Without the Night Dire, Yulin would not be able to attack the devil's vital points. There is no other way except to get a pedicure on the sea. While dodging the devil's tickling, Yulin held a big knife and drove the car to the devil's chest. On the Demon King's chest, where the red breathing light flickered, it was actually in pieces, filled with mucus that had long since solidified. The red breathing light shone out from the mucus, as if there was something inside that was struggling desperately. Mucus. Sea monster? Calypso. Could it be that before this wave of apostles came to this world, Calypso had already manipulated sea monsters and had contact with the devil? Various thoughts quickly flashed through Yulin's mind. Now, there are less than 30 seconds left before the demonization state. By this time, Yulin had no time to think about more details of the plot. Ziobai, change your shape a little. Bai Zioai. Yilin was connected with Bai Xiaoi and immediately conveyed his thoughts to Bai Xiaoi. After a few seconds, the 2-meter-long giant knife in Yilin's hand surged wildly again. If it weren't for Gu Tianqing's tarot card gain, which added a strength attribute to him, Yilin wouldn't have dared to bring Bai Xiaoi's shape to such a scale. The bigger and longer the knife is, the better. If you don't have enough strength to control the weapon, it will have no shape. Therefore, in normal times, Yilin is more accustomed to using Nai Hongxiu's form changes, which are more lethal to normal humanoid monsters. Obviously, the Demon King under Yilin and Nightmare's crotch does not belong to the category of carbon-based life. Killing skill. Although it is not as simple as shown in the skill description, Yilin cannot find the gap in the Demon King no matter how hard he concentrates. So, chi. The giant sword changed again. The smooth blade actually squirmed, and tiny blades formed. At this moment, what Yilin was holding tightly in her hand was no longer a 2-meter-long giant knife, but a 3-meter-long saw. 25 seconds. Yilin smiled slightly. The inspiration for this fine-tuned shape comes from one of Dyer's abilities. When saw blade causes damage while riding, there is a 25% chance of triggering the armor-breaking effect, which lasts for 10 seconds. The armor-breaking effect cannot be superimposed. Next. That's when the hand speed explodes like crazy. Swish, swish, swish. With bare hands, no, Yilin fully demonstrated with her actions at this moment, what it means to dismantle a mecha with a broadsword. Blood Jasmine turned into a big saw, and with Yilin's current strength attributes, she could barely swing out a series of knife shadows. Yilin gritted his teeth, and the nightmare under his crotch exerted all his strength, desperately fighting for the mucus on the Demon King's chest. Squeeze in deep. Kill. Dig, dig, dig. No reasons, no grudges, just pure mission. Either you die, or I live. With an increasingly crazy desire to kill, Yilin merged with the car, and like an electric drill, it sank deeply into the Demon King's chest. Papa, sizzle dash. The Demon King suddenly made a loud noise. 25 seconds later. Finally. Deep in the mucus, at the end of the flashing red light, Yilin stretched out her hand and pulled out the red breathing lamp. Click. Obtain contaminated fire source fragments. Congratulations to Apostle 1010 for successfully killing the Devil King. Get chaos value at 2333. At the same time. Sea surface. A lump of rotten flesh floated up. On the rotten meat, human facial features are vaguely distributed, but the position of the eyes, ears, mouth, and nose is a little wrong. It feels like a facial jigsaw puzzle, where all the facial features are messed up and then stuck together casually. Giluolu. From the mouth of that piece of rotten flesh, syllables of unknown meaning came out, and it was unclear what he was saying. Zhao Xingchen didn't expect that when the curse disappeared, he would turn into such a miserable appearance. But, this is not important. He is still alive. He is still hanging on. No matter how miserable and tattered this body is, it is still the body of Nicholas Zhao. What does it have to do with him, Zhao Xingchen? As long as you can, survive. Live. Just when Zhao Xingchen thought that he would bear the heavy mission of the protagonist's template and was destined to survive in adversity and survive in this desperate situation, a black-haired figure silently appeared in front of Zhao Xingchen. Zhao Xingchen's eyes suddenly widened. The one eye was instantly filled with a feeling of fear. Good night, Nicholas Zhao. Gu Tianqing smiled slightly and silently took out a skinning knife. The moonlight reflected by the knife reflected on the piece of rotten flesh named Zhao Xingchen. Zhao Xingchen looked miserable and helpless, like meat on a chopping board. After killing the Demon King, Yilin was covered in mucus and felt very uncomfortable. But now is obviously not the time to take a shower. Fragments of the source of fire. Yilin's heart moved, thinking that the breathing lamp pulled out from the Demon King's chest should be the source of everything. It's just a fragment of the fire source, so what is it? After turning it into a card, Yulin didn't have time to look at its attributes, so she put it into the storage space first. Boom! After losing the fire source fragment, the Demon King, who was still running wildly just now, instantly lost his power and turned into a pile of lifeless scrap metal. He collapsed and slowly sank into the deep sea. From then on, there was no more devil in the world. Yulin put away the big saw and turned the throttle. The sound of exhaust ripped through the sky. Yulin rushed out of the pile of slime and landed on the sea again. Thanks. Suddenly, a gentle laughter sounded in Yulin's ears. Yulin looked around and found that there was no one around. Alice. There was relief and purity in the laughter, and there was no resentment hidden under the laughter in the past. Yulin could still tell this. Alice's laughter disappeared in a flash, as if she were delusional. At this time, Yulin really couldn't tell whether it was an illusion or whether Alice really left a belated last word. After all, after the trident disappears, Alice should disappear into thin air and cannot continue to exist in this world. Alice is also a type of curse. The legendary, ascended to heaven on the same spot and became a Buddha immediately. Yulin laughed dumbly. Rin. 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 Ruth was still alive, crying with joy, rising and falling with the waves, waving wildly in the direction of Yulin on the sea. Taking advantage of the last moment, Yulin quickly drove the motorcycle and came to Ruth. Soaking in the cold sea water, Ruth's face was red, her eyes were blurred, and she seemed to have endless words that she didn't know whether to say or not. Yulin knew very well that there was not much time, so she said quickly, "I have to leave." Ruth was stunned. Without waiting for Ruth to ask questions, Yulin took out a large pile of messy treasures, gems, treasure maps, gold coins, canned food, fresh water, etc. that had already been packed from the storage space, and stuffed them all into Ruth's hands. These useless props are useless even if they are brought back to the real world. Those gold coins have unique historical characteristics. If they are sold in reality, they may cause some trouble. In addition, the apostle is not that eager for wealth in reality, so Yulin is too lazy to leave it in the storage space and waste precious gold coins. Just treat the space as clearing out a wave of warehouse garbage. Ruth's eyes widened. Before she could elaborate on the joy of surviving, she suddenly felt a sense of understanding, as if she understood the profound meaning contained in Elizabeth Lynn's hasty movements. She is leaving? Was this planned in advance? The package even has a pretty bow on it. Yulin emptied the warehouse, then took off the mask, smiled slightly, and added, "No need to ask, I probably won't come back." Ruth still couldn't hold it back and subconsciously hugged Elizabeth Lynn tightly. "My dear Captain, one day in the future." Yulin chuckled, stretched out her index finger and pressed Ruth's lips, interrupting her words. SHH-. You know, one day is a curse word. Because when you think in your mind, one day, it often means never. His main mission 3, seal Calypso and kill the Demon King, mission completed. In an instant, everything was silent. Time stands still. Everything in this world is completely frozen. The cold moonlight, the torn thick fog, the wreckage of the devil sunk at the bottom of the sea, the messy sea surface, countless shipwrecks, the firelight and thick smoke that have not been extinguished but are frozen, everything in front of me is solidified into a tragic but beautiful scene. The picture scroll came into Yulin's eyes. Yulin waved his hand, and the night dire turned into light and dissipated into the void. He stepped on the sea and enjoyed a moment of tranquility. No matter how many times, the scene before returning is always so charming. Looking at the frozen world, one has the illusion of being completely above the world. It was as if at this moment, the existence of their apostles was completely transcendent of the world, transcending everything, and making people intoxicated. Yulin looked down and saw that Ruth was soaked in the sea. In her eyes, there seemed to be an emotion called sadness. "Oh, boss lady, we will never see you again." After saying that, Yulin walked on the solid sea without any nostalgia. The dog was combing his hair with his tongue. When he saw Yulin passing by, he silently made several complicated gestures with his two paws. "Yulin, you're really talking about people." Yulin ignored Wang Tiandi and went straight to Gu Tianqing. Gu Tianqing was smiling. On the sea surface at his feet, there was a pile of unexplained rotten meat, which was also fixed by the world. At the end of this world, the two looked at each other. There was not much time, and finally it was Yulin who broke the silence first. "Which side do you belong to? Gu Tianqing, what do you think?" "Oh, you despicable pirate." Gu Tianqing smiled slightly and changed the subject. "Killing the Demon King should be a good harvest, right?" Yulin blinked. "Want to know?" "I'll tell you." Gu Tianqing. "Reach out." Gu Tianqing hesitated for a few seconds, but unexpectedly stretched out her hand, as if she thought Yulin would not cause any trouble in this moment of complete silence. Snapped. A lump of mucus instantly smeared on Gu Tianqing's hand. "Yulin, boss is covered in these things." Gu Tianqing. The next second, Yulin's eyes suddenly dazzled. In his sight, the dark night and the vast sea were replaced by a dazzling stream of light. In the streamer, customs clearance evaluation is being calculated. Evaluation, A. Note, due to the main mission 2 reward, the clearance evaluation level is add 1. Final clearance rating, S. Yulin. A. Yulin was a little disappointed, but after thinking about it carefully, it seemed natural and she felt relieved. Total attribute value reward add 0.8. Distributed based on Apostle 1010 trial performance. Strength add 0.4, Agility add 0.2, Spirit add 0.6, Will add 0.2, Luck minus 0.5, Charm minus 0.1. Well, 0.6 is deducted from the Luck and Charm attribute values, and then added to other combat-related attributes. Isn't this a normal operation? There is nothing surprising. Normal, what a ghost. Yulin was unable to complain. Settlement continues. Death points are being settled. Difficulty bonus, 40%, Nightmare difficulty. Evaluation bonus, 30%. Acquire death points, 3,400. Yulin looked at the massive death points with an expression neither happy nor sad. After being promoted to the second level, the basic death points for each trial have reached 2,000 points. With the difficulty and evaluation bonus, it seems like a lot, but in fact it is just average. After the experience in Hating City, Yulin earned a lot of death points. Now these more than 3,000 death points really can't make Yulin's mood fluctuate, it's just a drizzle. Oh, now comes the exciting lottery moment. Yulin waited silently. The mood is very peaceful. Now draw random rewards. Get the prop scene card of Shipwreck *1. Get the prop Rotten Sea Monster Tentacles *3. Yulin. He silently calculated his current luck value, and immediately held his hands and looked into his tearful eyes, speechless and choked. Settlement continues. Because of Apostle 1010, I completed part of the hidden plot branch of Alice's long-cherished wish with a completion rate of 32%, and received an Alice Q version fantasy commemorative badge. Due to Apostle 1010, if you gain a certain level of activity in the trial under the name Skeleton Gentleman, you can replace your current title with Skeleton Gentleman. Do you want to replace it? Yes/no? Yulin thought for a while and chose to replace it. Level improvement. Congratulations to the second level apostle for reaching the 16th floor of the Tower of Death. Current level, LV16. It has been detected that Apostle 1010's body is slightly damaged. Do you want to use death points to repair the body? Yes/no. Slight damage, probably some of the sequelae left after using the mind needle. Yulin did not suffer much damage in the final scene, but for the sake of safety, Yulin did not hesitate to choose to repair it. This is the case with too many death points. Willful, and safe. Yes. Consumption of 58 death points. The repair is completed instantly. Return. On the sea. The still time resumes its flow. The remains of the Devil King continue to sink until they completely decay, and they may not be able to be salvaged again. The fog around me didn't know when it would completely dissipate. From now on, there will be no curse in this world, and there will no longer be the sea of mist filled with a mysterious atmosphere. Plop. Elizabeth Lynn suddenly fell into the cold water. Ruth's eyes blurred. Elizabeth Lynn, who was originally in front of her, suddenly teleported not far away for some unknown reason. Although Ruth looked confused, she still hurried forward and swam forward, even with the large package of property has no time to take care of it. Rin. My captain. Elizabeth Lynn's eyes were closed and she fainted. On the sea. A dog swam in a slightly awkward manner, huffing and puffing, and swam towards us. The dog's eyes were wide open and he was panicking. Not far away. A navigator from the east, Amakusa's hero, had a complicated expression, mixed with 3 parts pain, 3 parts confusion, 3 parts horror, and 1 part confusion written on his forehead. His heart suddenly stopped beating, and his expression was completely frozen. Then it sank silently to the bottom of the sea. Even he himself died in an unclear manner. It was clear that he was still in the warm bed 1 second, and when he came back to his senses the next second, he was already here. Before he could express his last words, he died tragically at sea. Ruth didn't know what was happening, she just called Elizabeth Lynn's name frantically. Suddenly, Elizabeth Lynn opened her eyes, and those eyes shone with a deep blue light, just like the color of the sea in front of her. Damn outsiders! Elizabeth Lynn gritted her teeth, and her eyes showed 2 traces of hatred that were very unfamiliar to Ruth. Ruth, Rin. After a while, all the hatred in Elizabeth Lynn's eyes disappeared. She floated on the sea and gracefully rubbed the ornaments around her earlobes. On the earrings, there was a drop of dried blood, which melted into Elizabeth Lynn's white fingertips without leaving a trace. Elizabeth Lynn Swan smiled brightly at Ruth. Do you want to see the new world? New world? Ruth didn't know what she was thinking of, and her breathing became short. Is that, so exciting? You finally figured it out? My good captain. Thinking of the depths, Ruth also felt her limbs feel hot in the cold sea water, and she twisted subconsciously. She didn't notice that after Elizabeth Lynn said those words, a trace of hidden hatred flashed in her eyes. 10 days later. Various versions of the battle in the misty sea spread throughout the sea. London. Governor's Palace. A woman with an elegant figure and calm manner appeared in the empty and gloomy governor's mansion. As if she was in a deserted place, Elizabeth Lynn went straight to the gorgeous corridor on the first floor that was full of concave and convex spiral reliefs. Do-do-do-do. After Elizabeth Lynn walked slowly through the corridor, a dazzling red light flashed around her, and the alarm bell rang loudly. But soon, the piercing alarm bell fell silent again, as if it had never sounded. Elizabeth Lynn walked gracefully to the dark door. Before she entered the password, the elevator opened automatically, as if to welcome Elizabeth Lynn's arrival. 10 minutes later. Underground of the governor's palace. This is a room filled with white light. The 4 walls of the room were covered with many strange instruments, which made beeping sounds from time to time. In the center of the room, a mutilated body was soaked in a glass tank filled with a strange green liquid. It seemed that the head of the broken body in the glass tank was still intact. Electrode pads connected to the wires were stuck around the head. The face was fragmented and the appearance was terrible. And under the head, it was even more miserable. Most of the body seemed to have been bitten off by some monster, with only half left. A normal person would never be able to survive in this posture. Elizabeth Lynn came to the glass trough and chuckled, "Long time no see, Governor Henry Turner. Or should I call you, an outsider?" A glass tank filled with green liquid. The broken body and the closed eyes on the face slowly opened. "Want to leave this world? Outsider? Gilialo." A string of tiny bubbles burst out of the glass tank. Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Shueshi. Chapter 232. London at Night. Gilded Quagmire. Old Gibbs staggered into the speakeasy, still holding a bottle of rum in his hand. Hiccup. While belching wine, old Gibbs waved happily to the familiar pirates around him. Many pirates who were not completely drunk asked old Gibbs where they had been wandering around during this time. Old Gibbs just showed a mysterious smile. "Oh, that's an adventure story worth bragging about." Everyone expressed disbelief. After all, old Gibbs had been bragging for a long time. Old Gibbs didn't bother to explain and went straight to the bar. In the past, there was always an old man with coquettish pigtails sitting behind the bar playing guitar, but today it was replaced by two tall, muscular men. "Yo. Nick, Blake, where's that guy?" The two muscular men had helpless expressions on their faces, and they all mouthed toward the booth behind the bar. Through a door, a sound of ah came from inside. Old Gibbs's expression instantly became extremely strange, and his eyes widened. A good while. The old man playing the guitar walked out from behind the door in disheveled clothes. Old Gibbs quickly stretched out his head and looked quietly. The inside was as messy as a doghouse, with snow-white thighs and arms faintly exposed from the quilt. "Hi. Jack. Shit, Gibbs, keep it down." "Ha ha ha, Jack, the beard fell off your face." Old Gibbs leisurely recounted the adventure to Jack. "Huh? The trident was broken again? Is that woman dead?" "Dead, maybe, or should." Jack chuckled, re-glued the beard on his face, and drank a drink. "It's great." Old Gibbs glanced at Jack. "Didn't you see Sax that day? Why didn't you recognize him? Don't forget, you are." When Jack heard this, he became furious. "Damn it! I was forced. Forced. It was obviously that cunning woman who handcuffed my captain to the bed that day. She actually pushed the captain, Jack Sparrow. And we are all drunk." Gibbs, "Oh, as expected of her." The two stared at each other for a few seconds, then burst out laughing at the same time. "Cheers. To the sea. Cheers. Here's to freedom. Cheers. Here's to the Black Pearl. Cheers. To Elizabeth. Roll. Cheers." Old Gibbs drank several glasses of wine and felt like he was going to vomit. Jack suddenly fell silent. After a long time, he just raised his head and raised the rum in his hand high. There was a trace of confusion and nostalgia in his eyes, and he suddenly lowered his voice. "To Barbassa." Old Gibbs was startled for a moment, then smiled and said, "Here's to Barbassa." The two drank it all in one gulp. Adventures never end. Like a pirate's rum, after one drink, there's another, never ending. Yulin reappears. He looked around. Still in the solid room in the Mali Research Institute. It's surrounded by walls. Lao Pan is not here. "Oh, by the way, I locked the door before entering the trial." Yulin shook her head. This trial in the other world took too long. It was so long that Yulin still felt a little uncomfortable when she came out of the trial. As if still on a boat. The time flow in this world is completely different from that in the real world. Even though Yulin spent 2 long months in the other world, Only a short minute passed in the real world. Yilin did not leave the room immediately. He lowered his head and began to carefully sort out the harvest from the previous world. First up, the Apostle panel. Yilin, ID, 1010. Title Skeleton Gentleman. Health 100%. Chinook value 750. Module Apocalypse Knight, damaged. Level LV 16, second level Apostle. Strength 3.5. Agility 4.6. Spirit 7.5. Will 7.6. Lucky 2.8. Charm 2.1. Skills follow like a shadow, max, plagued by disaster, 3 stars, bloodthirsty disaster, 2 stars, summon the Mount Night Dire, 1 star, run fast, D level. Enhancement killing skills, A level, Dionysus factor, disabled, A level, Yin Yang hands, B and level. Yilin. First of all, strength, agility, spirit, and will have all increased to varying degrees. Secondly, well, luck and charm dropped as expected. However, the deducted luck and charm attributes were fully compensated for the remaining attributes. If you think about it in a self-comforting way, the less charming and unlucky he is, the stronger he is. Well, it seems good if you think about it carefully. Anyway, no matter how low his charm is, it will not affect his appearance. At most, his temperament will become more and more difficult to approach. Could this be the legendary, murderous aura? Yilin quickly accepted this miserable situation. Egg. Yilin subconsciously touched her chest, and then breathed a quick sigh of relief. After checking it, Yilin looked at the Apostle panel again. This time, the improvement in attributes did not bring any discomfort or awkwardness to Yilin. After all, the improvement in strength, agility, and spirit this time is only similar to the attribute values under the abundant buff, and is not too outrageous, so Yilin does not need to spend extra time to readjust to the improved attribute values. Body. In terms of skills, the biggest gain is probably to gain enough chaos points and obtain the Summon Mount Night Dire skill. No wonder the Apocalypse Knight refused to dismount in the melee. It turned out that the mount was so important to the Apocalypse Knight. Yilin suddenly realized. After a brief sigh of relief, Yilin's eyes fell on the strengthening column again, and she let out another sigh. No one is worthy of being a rival, he is truly worthy of being a rival. Yilin had long forgotten that a minute ago in the real world, he had clearly expressed the same emotion and said the same words. Yin Yang hand. Grade B plus grade. Effect click to view details. Instructions click to view details. This is the hidden weapon technique that Mo Rendi taught Yilin after her bet with Mo Rendi. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he would have found it hard to believe that the martial arts that Mo Rendi had casually guessed had been certified by the tower and had attribute descriptions. Martial Arts Master. This is official recognition. No one can beat anyone. Apart from being awesome, Yilin really couldn't think of any other words of praise. Although he was clearly not an apostle, he casually created an enhancement that could be officially certified. Although Yilin had long known that Mo Rendi was no ordinary person, this kind of attribute explanation proved Mo Rendi's strength from the side. Pity. Yilin thought of future Mo Rendi's death, and a trace of regret flashed across her expression. If possible, if we want to win over such a fighting force before the end of the world, we must find a way for him to obtain the apostle qualification. However, the old man has already pressed no with his own hands. Logically speaking, he cannot be summoned again. Even if he kills the apostle with his own hands, he will not be eligible again. It's a choice that once made can't be taken back. Unless, besides being summoned and killing the apostles, there is a third unknown way. Yilin was talking to himself, but when he thought of this, he couldn't help laughing at himself. I really worry too much. If there is such a way, with Zhao Yulong's current position, he should have mastered the relevant information long ago. How come it hasn't been found yet? So, Yilin shook her head and stopped worrying about it. After sorting out the improved attributes, Yilin continued to sit cross-legged on the spot, recalling everything in the trial. He is always used to analyzing the various traps in the trial after passing each trial, as well as ways to theoretically obtain a higher evaluation. Only by constantly summarizing experience can we go further in the cruel trials. The trial mode this time was very confusing. Which identity the apostle plays depends entirely on luck. Ren initially thought that he played Elizabeth Ren and was the most unlucky among the five. But he didn't expect anyone to be more unlucky than him. He was forced to bear a terrible curse at the beginning, and was still remembered by Alice across thousands of mountains and rivers. 3 seconds of silence for Martyr Zhao. The trial map this time is huge and there are many hidden branches. Take Yilin himself as an example. He has missed 2 important branches, one is the Philosopher's Stone and the other is Alice. If these 2 branches can be thoroughly explored, there is no guarantee that the final clearance evaluation will be achieved. Take it to another level. There are also the Navy's strange technology, the identity of the governor, the basement of the governor's palace, Sax's life experience, Jack's whereabouts, and so on. Oh, by the way, there seems to be an earring. If I guess correctly, there should be secrets on the earring that have not yet been discovered, because both earrings and corsets are exclusive to women and contain curses. Yilin did not take them with her before she left. Stayed on Elizabeth Lin's body. Gu Tianqing, I really belong to you. Yilin analyzed various experiences and clues in her brain and couldn't help laughing. All the apostles unanimously chose the pirate camp. Including Gu Tianqing, or perhaps, Indiana Jones. That's right. In the last trial, Yilin was not the only one with dual identities. Gu Tianqing also explored many pirate plots as Indiana Jones. If not, it would not explain why Gu Tianqing could not move and kept vomiting blood after the trident was broken. He was burdened with too many curses, to the point where he relied entirely on the curse to survive. The end of the pirate plotline seemed to be closely related to the power of the curse, but it was just because Gu Tianqing intervened midway that the difficulty of the task suddenly increased. Only to make the 2 plotlines completely different. Yilin hid Gu's identity and played the role of a skeleton gentleman. Gu Tianqing played the role of Amakusa's hero, hiding Indiana Jones. Wait, speaking of which, there is another apostle. Who is it? It is very possible that Gu Tianqing would have been killed earlier, otherwise Gu Tianqing would not have been able to come up with such a way to disrupt the situation. Thinking of this, Yilin silently added another label to Gu Tianqing. Insidious. It must be mentioned that if the trial was really about camp warfare, the Navy would be in a bit of a miserable situation. The 2 men who had infiltrated the Navy on the surface were both playing infernal affairs. This was undoubtedly a 5-0 situation, and the winner could be determined without a fight. This can also explain why Gu Tianqing knew Shipwreck Bay, the key location of the pirate side's main mission too, and why he tried to destroy that place and create a mission conflict. What Gu Tianqing didn't expect was that Yilin was actually in the Navy, but on the other end, he quietly let Guzi operate on 2 lines. The man and the dog became one, and used the compass to successfully find the key item to seal Calypso, Poseidon's weapon. Trident. This is roughly summarized. This trial was really exciting, and Yilin couldn't help but savor it, lowering her head and smiling softly. Suddenly, Yilin felt a little itchy on her arms, as if there were countless bugs crawling around, and as if there were many ants biting her hands constantly, making it itchy and painful. The next second, the smile on Yilin's face suddenly solidified. The flesh and blood on his hands were withering at a speed visible to the naked eye, just like the bark of an old tree. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Shueshi. Chapter 233. This is a curse. Yilin's expression froze, and the apostle panel that had been closed not long ago quickly opened again. Indeed, no. On the apostle panel, except for the accumulated 4 layers of blood in the upper right corner, there are no other weird buffs. Suddenly, the shrill roar that Calypso made before disappearing completely echoed in Yilin's ears. Outsider, I curse you. No matter where you go, no matter where you are, no matter what time and space you are in, I, Calypso, will curse you with my life. Curse your body to wither like a corpse and rot like a sea monster. I, Calypso, curse your soul. Day and night, you will be haunted by nightmares. You will encounter the most tragic misfortune. You cannot escape, you escape. But you can't escape. This is the final curse from Calypso. As the incarnation of the most terrible curse in the Caribbean, Calypso's curse filled with resentment before his death was so terrifying. Crossing time and space, crossing the world, and crossing the limitations of the physical body, the curse fell directly on Yilin's soul, or body. A woman's resentment is so terrifying. Yilin's health dropped rapidly, but then rose again. The Dionysian factor is taking effect. Yilin's arms, just like the contents of Calypso's curse, decayed rapidly, but from deep in the pores, new flesh and blood squirmed, healing the decayed parts, forming a subtle cycle, which made Yilin's the health value still remains at about 80% and no longer drops drastically. It seems fine, but in fact the Dionysus factor consumes a lot of physical energy when repairing the body. If it continues, in the end, Yilin will fall into a coma due to exhaustion, and the curse will completely break out, swallowing the body completely. Yilin silently took out her mobile phone from her trouser pocket. The mobile phone could not be brought into the other world. After coming out of the trial, the mobile phone magically returned to Yilin's pants pocket. Yilin was hesitating and thinking. He was wondering whether asking the special group for help was the right choice. Yilin can still barely hold on, but she can't rely on the Dionysian factor to hold on forever. Calypso's resentment is too powerful, and Yilin currently has no effective means to deal with the curse. Among the apostles, the skills are numerous and complex, and there are many tricks. No one's ability can cover everything, and there will always be conflicts and conflicts. Yilin vaguely remembered that in the special group, there seemed to be someone who specialized in this, but she didn't know if the experts in this field had become members of the special group at this time. That's fine. And just when Yilin was about to press Zhao Yulong's phone number, suddenly, from the forehead, a cold feeling came down from top to bottom, like a basin of ice water being poured towards the forehead, soaking the whole body. But that cold current made Yilin's cursed and rotten arms feel much better. It was a kind of pleasure like rain after a long drought. Yilin's movements froze instantly. Forehead. If this feeling hadn't suddenly appeared, Yilin would have almost forgotten that there was a piece of mysterious dead skin from Giwu Mountain on his forehead. I still remember that in Giwu Mountain, it was like a place for cultivating poisonous insects. The source of everything was this mysterious piece of dead skin. In the tower's attribute description, dead skin belongs to growth parasitic equipment. But this so-called growth parasitic equipment has always been parasitic on Yilin's forehead. Apart from being unable to pull it off, there is nothing special about it. Now that I think about it, the Giwu Mountain trial seems like a different kind of curse. All roads lead to the same destination. He quickly stretched out his fingers and dug at the piece of human skin on his forehead. During such a short period of thinking, his hands were actually covered with black cracks, and black and smelly blood was constantly seeping out of the cracks. The scene was horrifying. And in the black blood, fresh flesh and blood continued to creep out, repairing Yilin's damaged body. Calypso's curse is so terrible. Without the Dionysian factor's repair ability, his body might have been turned into blood within 5 minutes of returning to the real world. The moment Yilin's fingers came into contact with resentment on her forehead, the cold touch from resentment actually followed Yilin's fingertips and surged like a river in Yilin's body. The mysterious cold current flows from the fingertips to the back of the palms, wrists, forearms, chest, and heart in just one breath, and then upwards again, returning to the forehead, forming a strange cycle. Yilin has never practiced martial arts, nor has she been exposed to martial arts enhancement, but this feeling gave Yilin the illusion that she was refining her internal strength. A few minutes later, the black texture on Yilin's hands faded away, and fresh flesh grew back on her hands. Everything that happened just now seemed to be an illusion. Call. Finally, Yilin breathed a long sigh of relief. Only then did he realize that the experience of just a few minutes had made him soaked to the skin, with sweat dripping down his hair and smearing his face. Yilin wiped off the sweat on his face. The whole face was moist, but the dead skin still had a strange touch. It was dry and silky and stuck tightly to Yilin's forehead. No matter how hard I pick at it, I can't get it off. It seems like it's really just a piece of dead skin. Huh? Is it done? Yilin opened the apostle panel and saw that her health, which had been maintained at around 80%, had finally returned to full. Yilin stared at the health column for a moment, and after seeing no other changes, she finally felt relieved and closed the apostle in front of her panel. Although it was a false alarm, Yilin was certain that without grudge, today's matter would never have been resolved so easily. Yilin subconsciously touched her chest, wondering if the insurance left in her body would work in this situation today. After a moment of silence, Yilin picked at the dead skin on her forehead again. Suddenly, Yilin found that after resentment inexplicably came into play, the area of dead skin stuck to her forehead seemed to have expanded a bit. After noticing something abnormal, Yilin did not dare to be careless. To be on the safe side, he circled the ground 3 times from the left to the right, and completely rubbed away the dead skin on his forehead. Yilin is very familiar with the location of this piece of dead skin. After all, it is stuck to her forehead. Yilin will touch it when she has nothing to do. It has almost become a habit. Therefore, if something feels wrong, Yilin will instantly notice it. Sure enough, the area of dead skin became larger. Could it be that resentment, that is, this piece of dead skin, absorbed the power of Calypso's curse? This situation now seems to be somewhat similar to the ending of Gui Wuxian. At the end of Ghost Mist Mountain, resentment is like a gangrene attached to the bones, chasing after Wen Mani, who became the Ghost Queen. It seems that in resentment's view, Wen Mani is a gluttonous delicacy. Feeding on curses? Growing. Yilin had no expression on her face as she checked the attributes of resentment. Blame. Grade unknown. Growth 36%. Effect unknown. Explanation: just pretend it doesn't exist, maybe it's just an ordinary piece of dead skin that can't be picked off. At first glance, Yilin scanned it quickly and found nothing special. Oh, wait. Yilin took another quick glance. Found something was wrong. In the column under level, at some point, there was an additional entry for growth and an additional number. Yilin silently picked at the dead skin. The kind that can't be picked out. Think about life at the same time. The origin of resentment seemed to be far more mysterious than he initially imagined. Perhaps this is the most valuable reward in Gui Wuxian's SSS evaluation. Yilin's heart moved. As a closed trial in Gui Mountain, grudge is the source of the entire trial. Even with Yilin's rich experience, she still cannot figure out the correct way to open grudge. Its mystery is indescribable. After Calypso's curse was resolved, grudge appeared with something like an upgrade progress bar, which was a good thing for Yilin. At the very least, a change has occurred. As long as there are changes, there is value in research. It's much better than staying the same. Yulin also seems to have found a way to upgrade grudge. It seems that in the future we will take the initiative to provoke this kind of being who seems to be very stingy and can curse every minute. This ridiculous idea made Yulin burst into laughter. Forget it, let's leave it like this for now. If we think about it further, we won't be able to figure out the reason. Yulin decisively put the matter aside. By the way, other gains from the trial. During the trial in the Caribbean, Yulin gained a lot. In addition to successfully upgrading her skills into modular skills, Yulin also obtained many props. In the final random reward, Yulin drew 2 props. Scene card, Shipwreck *1. Yulin looked at the attributes with a calm expression. Is the scene stuck? Yulin pondered for a moment, then smiled. Although it's not something too high-end, it might come in handy at a critical moment. One more thing. Rotten Sea Monster Tentacles *3. Yulin took a quick look, then twitched the corners of her mouth slightly, and took the card back with a look of disgust. Whatever. Luck cannot be forced. It's another day where I haven't drawn any skills, just get used to it. Yulin sighed. If this continues, he really can no longer expect random rewards. It is obviously such a happy moment. The next thing is. Yulin's expression was calm, but she rubbed her palms together happily inside, and took out a card from the most conspicuous place in the storage space. The pattern on the front of the card is a rhombus-shaped mysterious crystal covered with complex textures, like a fragment broken off from a complete object. Behind the prismatic fragment is the background of a vast universe. There are many things in the universe. Decorated with stars, sun, and moon, a very domineering SR. This was the Demon King's breathing lamp that Yulin finally dug out from the pile of sea monster mucus in the Demon King's body. Although Yulin has less and less expectations for random rewards now, she should still have expectations for this kind of prop from the final boss of the trial. Contaminated fire source fragments. Level epic. Effect: it can turn any mechanical equipment into a new silicon-based life, plug and play, convenient and fast. Instructions: click to view details. Yulin. Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Xueshi. Chapter 234. It was already evening when I walked out of the room. In the corridor, Yulin was slightly startled. At the end of the corridor, Molly was wearing goggles, holding a welding gun in each hand, with a solemn expression, lowering her head and stepping forward, full of momentum. It seems, long time no see. Well, where is Yi? Oh, by the way, it's only been a minute in the real world. If she said long time no see at this time, Molly would probably think that she was sick, so Yulin swallowed what she was about to say. Molly seemed to be in a trance. He didn't notice Yulin's appearance at all and walked straight over. Yulin didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Miss Mo, you forgot to wear shoes again. Molly was stunned, turned her head, and kept mumbling something, as if she was in a daze. Well, what did you say? Nothing, what are you busy with? Molly waved her hand, and the welding gun almost hit Yulin's face, but Yulin dodged it without expression. There is something wrong with the joints of the exoskeleton armor. If you want to make it into an unmanned driving or remote control mode, the joint form specially designed to protect the human body cannot achieve the expected effect, but if it is made into a crawler structure, it feels a little too low. Molly started to be verbose. I want to say that you can make some adjustments by yourself, and you can also refer to some settings in anime and games. Although the settings of those mechas are a bit unscientific from a scientific point of view, but with a little reference, maybe could make some useful adjustments. Only then did Yulin remember that before he entered the other world, Molly was happily dancing with the exoskeleton armor. Until this moment, before and after Yulin entered the other world, the senses that had been separated by time were finally reconnected. After thinking about it, Yulin felt that she couldn't help, so she silently nodded, come on. After that, he was ready to leave. Hey, wait. Yulin had only taken a few steps when Molly suddenly called out to Yulin. Yulin. Have you been drinking? Yulin. Molly looked weird and pointed at Yulin's steps. Why do you walk so crookedly? Yulin was momentarily speechless. He couldn't tell Molly that people who had been tossed around in a boat for a long time would always have some sequelae when they set foot on land again. The human cerebellum needs to readjust the balance of the limbs, and it takes some time to adapt. Finding an excuse to fool him, Yulin took a hot bath comfortably and changed into clean clothes. Seems to be free again. I remembered that in the last trial, among the 5 people, some were tricked to death at the beginning, and some died at the end. Only 2 people and a dog came back alive from the vast ocean and became returnees. When Yulin confronted Gu Tianqing at the end, she had already noticed the familiar rotten meat at Gu Tianqing's feet. If he guessed correctly, Gu Tianqing took away Nicholas Zhao's first blood while he was fighting the boss. The trials in the other world are so cruel. No one can be sure that they will be able to return alive from the trial. Therefore, many people will write their last words in advance before entering a trial every time, for fear that a cold corpse will reappear a minute later. As the level increases, future trials will become more and more cruel, and the enemies she faces will become more mysterious and complex. Before entering each time, Yulin must make sufficient preparations to prevent the ship from capsizing in the gutter. If you want to avoid capsizing, you must let yourself become that gutter. Well, this is indeed true. After taking a shower, Yulin casually found a quick meal in Molly's studio, heated it up and had dinner in a hurry. Yulin quietly slipped into Ling Yi's treatment room and took a look at it from a distance without disturbing or saying anything. Some things don't need to be told to anyone. With nothing to do, Yulin opened the Apostle Forum and browsed the posts among the apostles to see if there was anything new. Among a bunch of useless posts that were boasting or showing off, Yulin found a few interesting posts. It seems that since the incident in Hating City spread among the apostles, many people have begun to imitate those guys who acted as monsters in Hating City, especially Fat Rabbit and Strong Rabbit, and began to wear vests walking around the world. In some cities, there are even many superhero urban legends, which make people laugh or cry. Yulin read the reply. If he guessed correctly, these urban masked men popping up like mushrooms after a rain would be enough to give Zhao Yulong a headache. Well, the one with the headache is Zhao Yulong. What does it have to do with him? Skip. This post is interesting. Among a bunch of posts about newbie asking for help, stories I have to tell the female apostle, and look at my new top-notch equipment, there is a very down-to-earth post that has gained a certain amount of popularity. Strangeness. The reason why Yulin found it strange was not that the content of the post was too curious. Instead, Yulin found it strange that a post that was so ordinary that it was commonplace in all major forums actually became popular in the Apostle Forum. With the heart of gossip, Yulin pointed her finger in. Posted by Fat in BC. Yulin. I have a friend who is forced to get married by his family. What should I do? Waiting online, urgent. Yulin smiled slightly. Replies from a variety of talented people are pouring in below. Sacrifice to heaven on the first floor. Owner, are you sure that your friend is not you? Funny. Friends emerge from filth. Hey, the news I've seen recently is boyfriend killed his love rival in anger when he suspected his girlfriend was having an affair, husband suspected his wife of having an affair and slapped her and caused intracranial hemorrhage and died. My father-in-law wanted to prevent his son-in-law from falling in love with his daughter. I hired 7 guys to scare him with machetes, but he was so scared that he jumped into the river and drowned. To sum up, cherish life and stay single. Brilliant upstairs. Add 1 for the inside upstairs. Congratulations to the original poster on becoming a father. Test the pregnancy period, maybe there will be a surprise. Buy 1 get 1 free, good things come in pairs. 1 wait for 2 birds, The original poster takes the blame. Ahem, host, I also have a friend. In addition to a bunch of funny guys jumping around, there were also slightly more rational replies. It doesn't matter whether you like it or not, what matters is that it suits you, I'm talking about the shape. Actually, our line of work is precarious. We might be in bed 1 minute and in the funeral parlor the next. This marriage doesn't matter. Upstairs, I have nothing to say. Actually, it makes sense if we are all traveling together, it doesn't matter after all, we are used to seeing life and death, and maybe we can happily dance for our partners in front of their graves. But if the other party is an ordinary person, then forget it, so as not to let others take over and die. If love has a color, then it must be green and full of life. My ex-wife, I waited for her for a minute. After a minute, I calmly covered her body with a quilt. A moment of silence upstairs. Silence, silence upstairs. Add 1. Silence, silence upstairs. Add 2. Yilin originally wanted to express her opinion. But thinking about it, it seems unnecessary. Get married, haha. This word seems very far away. To the apostle, it seemed more out of reach than anything else. Just like what Yilin said to Ruth at the end. Someday. Later. Someday in the future. If we survive this. This kind of opening statement, which is like setting up a flag, seems to mean never in the eyes of many apostles, like an extravagant wish that can never be realized. This kind of flag doesn't matter if it's not established. A post that was originally quite happy, but I don't know who touched the mood. As the reply went to the back, there was a faint sadness between the lines. Yilin simply closed the forum and closed her eyes to rest. A night of silence. A few days later. Yilin finally adapted to life on land again. I no longer have a drunken gait when I walk. Since coming back, Yilin has mostly been hiding in her room, silently practicing various skills and developing new abilities. From time to time, she checks to see if Lao Pan is still alive. There is nothing special about her. Speaking of which, although Lao Pan is still full of talk, he seems to be beginning to be able to communicate partially recently, which is gratifying. I don't know if Pan Xiaozhen is still in Pan Zhenji's body. Hope everyone is okay. Outside the institute, the weather is sunny. When Yilin was doing nothing, the death mark vibrated. When Yilin took a look, she didn't expect that it was a message from Emperor Wang Tian. Emperor Wang Tian, woof. Middle finger. Yilin. I almost forgot about that dog. During the trial, he also promised Emperor Wang that he would be treated like a rich man's pet, with food and shelter included. In the end, that dog sat on the ground and raised the price. How many months did you agree to it? 6 months? 7 months? Forget it, it doesn't matter. Let's talk about it if we can survive until then. After thinking for a moment, Yilin sent the address of Molly's research institute. As for whether the dog can come out of the zoo, whether it can find the capital and come here, that has nothing to do with Yilin. But having said that, Yilin was also curious, how did a dog become an apostle? Logically speaking, the dog's attribute value should not be able to meet the requirements for passive summoning. A dog's measurements exceed 10? Who dares to believe it? Who would believe it? This attribute can crush more than half of ordinary people, which is simply ruthless. Ever since Emperor Wang Tian appeared in Yilin's sight, the idiom "people are inferior to dogs" was finally no longer an exaggeration. It turns out that there are really many people who are worse off than a dog. When Yilin agreed to Guzi, she had some selfish motives. Maybe from Guzi, we can find a third way to become an apostle. Anyway, it only provides food and accommodation. If money can solve the problem, then it is not a problem. Unless, there's not enough money. Yilin opened the web page, assessed Wang Tiandi's size, quickly selected a doghouse that looked quite comfortable, and decisively placed the order. She felt a little pain afterward. By the way, I also bought a bunch of high-end compressed dog food. I selected some of various flavors and had them delivered to my door on a certain day. There seems to be a lot of money in the account. Enough for now. A few more days passed. The dog didn't arrive, but another person came. You. Yilin looked at Zhao Yulong in front of him in a suit and leather suit, looking like a human and a dog, and was a little unbelievable. How could this butterfly effect be so awesome? Completely subverting Zhao Yulong's character? Zhao Yulong, who was wearing a tight suit, felt quite uncomfortable with Yilin's strange eyes. He coughed twice and said with a serious expression, "Well, I have something to do with you." Before Yilin could react, a few seconds later, Zhao Yulong, who looked like a human but looked like a dog, twisted his expression and smiled naturally. Hey, are you overwhelmed by Brother Zhao's handsomeness? You have no idea how charming you are. Well, let's get down to business first. Before Zhao Yulong finished speaking, Yilin waved her hands with a wan expression. If there is a job, I don't really want to take on the job this month. Hearing this, Zhao Yulong was startled and asked cautiously, "Are you here to be my aunt?" Yilin. Zhao Yulong's words seemed to hit Yilin's pain point. There was silence for a long time. Only then did Yilin squeeze out one word through her teeth. "Roll." "No," Zhao Yulong said with a sad face, "we don't have enough manpower." "Who told you not to pay wages?" "Ah, talking about money is so hurtful. You should talk about your ideals." "Ideal? Haha, I have an ideal, and that is to live until the end of the world." Tisk Zhao Yulong curled his lips. "Aren't you short of money? Wait, why don't you listen to it first? Maybe you will be interested." "Haha, didn't my money come from the strong wind? It's not like you don't know that the special team is my only job. I can't just rely on my parents' blessing. Maybe I have to find a part-time job that can earn me a salary. It's much better than working for nothing in the special team." Yilin casually found an excuse to excuse himself. Zhao Yulong's expression was stern, but suddenly, he reacted and was slightly startled. Where did your parents come from?" Yilin heard this. His whole body was shaken. In an instant, an invisible terror enveloped Yilin, making the hair on Yilin's body stand up. Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Xueshi. Chapter 235. The style of painting changes. The world collapses. Yilin's mental attributes are now close to the first level of mental lock, and her brain is spinning very fast. But the moment Zhao Yulong said those words seemingly as a joke, Yilin felt as if there was a loud bang in her head, and it was like a string snapping into several pieces. What did you just say?" Yiren tried to maintain a semblance of calm. But if Zhao Yulong had been more careful, he would have discovered that Yilin's knuckles were clenched white and there was a hint of trembling in her tone. Zhao Yulong didn't notice the change in Yilin's tone at all. He flipped up his hair coquettishly and patted Yilin's shoulder. "You are not so naive as to think that I will not thoroughly investigate your background before you join the special group." "Once again?" "Hiya." There was a moment of silence. Yilin closed her eyes. "My parents, who are they?" In an instant. The two names that were once so familiar to her were originally in her mind, but Yilin could not say them out no matter what. Name, height, appearance, age, everything about the parents seemed to have been wiped out of memory by some force. Yilin couldn't understand the current situation. He only felt that his limbs were cold and his back was cold, as if the temperature around him suddenly changed from early autumn to winter, which made Yilin feel uncomfortable and had the illusion that his mind was frozen. Who I am? Who are my parents? What world is this? Have I traveled through time again? Why are the parents gone? Or do I never have parents from the beginning? But what about memory and habitual cognition? Or do you mean that certain facts have changed from the moment you were reborn? In just 1 minute. Yilin's frozen thoughts began to work again, and many messy thoughts emerged, each of which was difficult to answer. Zhao Yulong looked confused. Why is it that while we are having a good conversation, this guy's mood changes at every turn? He didn't say anything? Isn't it just working for free? There are so many people working for free in the special group, it's as vast as the sea. Zhao Yulong thought of his experience in Huading City again. Could it be that the boy was under too much pressure during this period, had endocrine disorders, and had emotional problems? Do you want to ask a doctor to take a look at you? He is in the team. Before Zhao Yulong finished speaking, Yilin suddenly turned around and left, never looking at Zhao Yulong again. Zhao Yulong was left alone in the place, wearing a neat suit, messy in the wind, feeling inexplicable. In the corridor, Yilin took 2 steps, and it was like the coagulated blood began to slowly flow again, but there was still an illusion of numbness in her limbs. What to do? There were countless questions in Yilin's mind. Faced with this situation, he had no plan. He never even thought that this worldview would collapse so suddenly and everything would happen so completely. Molly. He suddenly thought of Molly. Recalling that it was Molly who told Yilin about the theory of time travel, finding Molly might be able to get the answer. 5 minutes later, when Yilin found Molly immersed in work in the studio, her agitated mood had calmed down a lot. He is not an ordinary person after all. In this weird situation, calmness is even more important. Don't you see I'm busy? Although Molly had a complaint on her face, she still stopped what she was doing for some reason. Yilin was silent for a moment. On the way, he decided not to tell Molly about the error in his memory for the time being. He would first try to understand Molly's memory from the side. Well, I just want to ask, have you checked my information before? Molly looked slightly embarrassed. How is that possible? Do you think I, Molly, would do this? Yilin interrupted Molly, I'm serious, I'm not kidding. Molly was stunned for a moment, but quickly lowered her head and said in a weak voice, check, I have indeed checked. Show me. Are you stupid? I left evidence when I had nothing to do. Oh, I mean, why am I recording such meaningless content when I have nothing to do? Do you think I'm stupid too? Yilin thought about it again, and it seemed to be right. With Mo Mingmeng's character, at most she would just check it secretly, without leaving any evidence. Do you remember, my life experience, such as my parents and so on? Molly's expression was slightly startled. She always felt that Yilin was a little weird today, but she couldn't tell what was weird. But seeing Yilin's serious expression, she didn't complain, and said simply, there is actually nothing to find out about your life experience, it's all clear. Please tell me. Yilin, male, born on March 28, 2103, parents unknown. The file records it this way, but it should actually be earlier. After all, this is the date the welfare institution registered your ID. Welfare home, Yilin's pupils narrowed. Yes, isn't it the orphanage where you and sister Yi came out together? Don't you know where you come from? When did you check it? It was the first time I was playing with my phone at your house that day. It wasn't difficult. I found it in a few minutes. Yilin was silent for a moment. What does 1 + 1 equal? Roll. Molly should be Molly. Yilin opened the Apostle panel again and confirmed it again. He even checked the props in the storage space repeatedly. Yes, he did return from the other world. There is no possibility of falling into inexplicable trials again. In other words, this is reality. Suddenly distorted reality. Could it be that from the beginning, reality was no longer the reality he knew, but his memory was just wrong? No, Yilin's eyes narrowed and she quickly denied the idea. There must be some mistakes, my money, yes, my money. Just when Molly felt that Yilin seemed to be convulsing for no apparent reason, Yilin asked again. Let me ask you, where did the funds in my account come from? Molly gave Yilin a strange look. You must have lost your memory, right? When you were in the orphanage, you accepted donations from a foundation, and a sum of money would be transferred to your account regularly every period of time. Tisk, I don't know how lucky you are to have such a good thing happen to you. Foundation. Foundation? What foundation? This information doesn't make it clear. Can it be found? Wait, let's see. Molly quickly typed a few times in front of the computer, then shook her head. It's difficult. You also know the particularity of the international network now. The Foundation's headquarters is abroad. If you want to check, it's a bit troublesome and we can't check it secretly. Yilin also knew very well what Molly meant by secretly. I'm going out for a while, Yilin said expressionlessly. Molly. Soon after, Yilin returned to Qingcheng alone. After his rebirth, he spent most of his time in Qingcheng. He only hoped to return to this small city and find some clues. Along the way, Yilin desperately searched for traces of the existence of her parents in her mind. But unfortunately, since returning to this timeline, in the past 3 years in Yilin's memory, his parents have never appeared in front of anyone. Yilin can't even recall his parents' names or even their appearance, as if existences such as parents have never appeared in his world from the beginning. Why? Is there something wrong with the world? Or is there something wrong with my memory? Is it because of the butterfly effect? No, Molly said that the timeline of my rebirth cannot affect another timeline, nor can it change the facts that have already happened. All the facts that happened will eventually become history, and history cannot be changed. According to Meng's theory, this should be the case, but why do I always think that my parents are always alive? If you think about it carefully, in the past 3 years since my rebirth, I have never contacted them proactively, or even gone to contact them. But I clearly have some incomplete memory fragments. Is it me who made the mistake? Or, the world? Or is it that the time travel theory mentioned by Meng is simply a mistake? Everything is wrong. Yilin raised her head and looked at the familiar yet unfamiliar sky, as if her whole body had lost all strength. So, what exactly is time and space? Since her rebirth, Yilin has never had such a desperate and confused mentality. Even when faced with life and death in the trial in the other world, Yilin had never been so desperate. Who I am? Who are my parents? Where am I? Where am I going? Where do I come from? When the philosophical questions that were originally just used to complain about nothing on the internet really appeared in Yilin's mind, Yilin didn't feel ridiculous at all. He really wanted to know the answer. In this way, Yilin came to Qingcheng High School in a daze. On the playground, students are practicing neatly, boxing, and exercising. In various cultural classes, readings, discussions, and experiments are all a thriving and beautiful scene. Classmate Yilin, why are you back at your alma mater? Isn't it time for the holidays? At this time, a familiar yet unfamiliar voice sounded behind Yilin. He was his former class teacher. Yilin turned her head in confusion. Who are my parents? The class teacher laughed dumbly. Classmate Yilin, are you kidding me? Yilin remained silent and left the place. He came to the classroom's office. Wang Fenbai, a history teacher who has been single for 10,000 years, happened to have no classes. When he saw Yilin, he expressed joy. Classmate Yilin. Who are my parents? Wang Fenbai looked confused. How do I know? Teacher in the corridor. Who are my parents? Where do your parents come from? Students who repeated a grade. Who are my parents? Yurin, why are you making such a joke? Are you too stressed in college? I remember your ambition is to major in tower studies, right? Everyone. Who are my parents? Who I am. The familiar scene, and for some reason, those friendly smiling faces actually gave Yilin a sense of unfamiliar fear. After 1 hour. Qingcheng Police Station. Among the busy police officers, Yilin found Su Xiong. After not seeing him for a while, Su Xiong seemed a bit older, with deep-set dark circles hanging on his face, as if he had been completely hollowed out, and very haggard. Su Xiong was a little surprised when he saw Yilin coming to see him. He suddenly remembered Yilin's mystery and quickly lowered his voice, "Let me take a step to speak." Yilin pursed her lips. At this time, he was in no mood to put on the disguise of a good student, and it seemed unnecessary in front of Su Xiong. "No, I just want to ask one thing, were the files on the Jackie Henry case handed over?" Henry Zhang. When Su Xiong heard this name that almost became an old man's name, he immediately trembled and became more energetic. He looked around and saw that no one was paying attention, so he whispered, "Brother, why are you trying to settle old scores like this? You should have investigated my background at that time. That's necessary. This is professionalism." Yilin stared into Su Xiong's eyes and asked word for word, "Who are my parents in your memory?" The words just fell. Su Xiong's expression was only slightly dazed for a moment, but he soon smiled and said, "Why are you making such a joke now? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment." Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Shueshi. Chapter 236. Someone once said, "One of the important reasons why human beings can become the spirit of all things is that they have the ability to accept new things very quickly. It's incredibly fast." After Su Xiong finished speaking, he quickly became serious and said suspiciously, "You can't be sent by the superiors to conduct overt and covert inspections, right? I hate it. How can you test my working ability with questions like yours?" Yilin. Thus, Yilin could confirm that the world would never be the same again. Or, in fact, the world has been different from what he remembered since unknown time, but he only discovered the clues at this time. But why? There were countless question marks in his mind. A good while. Yilin took a deep breath and smiled, "You are overthinking, I am just teasing you." Su Xiong immediately breathed a sigh of relief and patted Yilin on the shoulder, "I'm just telling you, why are you joking about something like this, ha 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 ha." The experienced Lao Su did not notice this time that Yilin's smile faded in an instant, but was replaced by a strange calmness. "I remember that in many movie scenes or novels, when the protagonist learned the bad news about his parents' sacrifice to heaven, he always showed a look of grief and grief. But Yilin suddenly felt that when this situation happened to him, he only found it funny. When the concept of parents completely faded from his memory, and he could not even recall any information about parents, this sad emotion was just a joke. Do not know why. Not sure why. I don't know how serious it is." Therefore, Yilin could only bear everything. Accept all doubts. Bear all the strangeness. Bear all sudden changes. There is no other way and no reason to refuse. At this time, a young police officer saw Su Xiong busy and did not come to disturb him. He just greeted the two chatting from a distance. "Captain Su, I'm leaving first." "Captain Su, you should go home and rest early." Unknowingly, Yilin went shopping until the time when she got off work that day. "Captain Su." Yilin looked at Su Xiong with a half smile. "Hey hey hey, everyone is giving face, giving face." Su Xiong's expression was stern, as if he had something to hide. Yilin thought about it carefully. "Gu, what is Gu here for? Where is she?" "Died in the line of duty." Gu Xinan. Su Xiong said a name that had almost faded out of Yilin's memory. Hearing the second half of Yilin's sentence, he immediately showed a dumbfounded expression. "What are you thinking? How can it be so easy to die in the line of duty?" It's just that kid Gu Xinan. Something happened. Oh. Yilin was not interested at first, but the conversation started and the topic reached this point. Yilin followed Su Xiong's words and spoke a syllable. Su Xiong hesitated for a moment, as if he had something to hide. But when he remembered Yilin's mysterious background, he finally didn't hide it and told the story in a storytelling-like tone. This matter is a long story. Please keep your story short. I shouldn't have told you originally, but, alas, some time ago, when Gu Xinan was still the captain, something became more and more wrong. Su Xiong seemed to have considered it for a long time before using the adjective something was wrong. Something's wrong. It's just that, the way we do things is getting weirder and weirder. You know, in our industry, we generally need evidence to handle cases. If there is insufficient evidence, there is no way to convict. But when Gu Xinan was on the job, he was also very powerful, so powerful. Unlike people, in many cases, there is no need to find evidence at all, and the prisoner can basically be locked up. Yilin recalled the feeling of being targeted by Gu Xinan. Su Xiong continued, although she is very awesome, it is very difficult for us to deal with her doing this. Many times we know that there is something wrong with the prisoner, but after locking the prisoner, we are unable to find the evidence. Gu Xinan may have lacked some experience at the beginning and had a bad temper, until that incident happened. When Su Xiong's tone became hesitant again, Yilin smiled and guessed, she beat up the suspect. Su Xiong suddenly took a breath, subconsciously took a step back, and stared at Yilin like a monster. You, how do you know? Is it hard to guess? I feel like she is the kind of person who will punch hard and punch out the evidence if she can't find it. Yilin tells the truth and follows her heart in everything. This? Su Xiong was stunned. But after thinking about it, he found it difficult to refute. Because in fact, Gu Xinan also got beaten up, and it was a million-ton punch. Some time ago, a pedophile demon appeared in Qingcheng area, you know. Oh, you don't understand, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. Su Xiong suddenly realized that the meaning of his words seemed to be wrong, and he quickly changed his words. In short, the suspect has been identified and caught. Gu Xinan is very sure it is him, but because of that scumbag, he struck too cleanly and did not leave any tail. Moreover, he has a considerable background. If we can't find evidence, we will have to release him in the end. Then that night in the prison, Gu Xinan stepped on his balls and crushed them on both sides. She beat the prisoner so hard that the shit came out. It's been a month, and I'm still lying in the hospital. Although I woke up, my spirit seemed to be severely damaged. I kept shouting, I don't dare anymore, I don't dare anymore. It seemed like I was scared to death. Really? Talent. Awesome. Yilin secretly gave a thumbs up. Then what? Su Xiong shrugged, what else can be done? This matter has indeed gone too far. Gu Xinan seems to have some family background, it has something to do with the boss. The boss is also thinking of transferring her first, after all, this matter is really difficult to handle. But Gu Xinan resigned directly and left the company without saying a word. Su Xiong took a sip of wolfberry tea to moisten his throat and replenish his kidneys, and continued, although later, amidst that scumbag's nonsense, we found various tools for his crimes in the basement of an abandoned garage outside the city. In the end, it was proved that Gu Xinan's intuition was not wrong, but it is said that the superiors were really afraid of Gu Xinan's inexplicable way of handling cases, and did not dare to find Gu Xinan again. In addition, she herself had no such intention, so she gave up. That's it? Yilin finally understood what happened. But he only listened to it to save face, and Yilin actually lacked interest. In the end, Yilin looked calm and concluded, she did the right thing and deserves to be killed. Su Xiong looked at Yilin's calm expression with a look of shock. But he found it difficult to refute. Finished. Yilin prepares to leave. Before leaving, Yilin said casually, "Lao Su, congratulations, congratulations." Su Xiong instantly understood what Yilin was referring to. He originally wanted to say something modest, but when his words came to his lips, they turned into, "Hi, you're welcome, you're welcome." Yilin chuckled and walked out of the police station. Su Xiong was also very practical and took Yilin all the way to the gate. Before leaving, Su Xiong suddenly remembered something. "Oh, by the way, before leaving, Gu Xinan said something a little weird, which made Lao Sumi a little concerned." "Huh? What did you say?" Su Xiong scratched his head. "She just said, 'You don't understand, you don't understand at all.'" After finishing her words, she ran away. Yilin took a deep look at Su Xiong, was silent for a moment, and reminded, "It will be fine in the future, have less contact with her." Su Xiong. After Yilin finished speaking, this trip seemed to have left Su Xiong with more question marks, and she left gracefully. But no one could understand Yilin's ups and downs in her mentality. After leaving Qingcheng police station, she returned to the city that should have felt very familiar, but everything around her felt strange to Yilin. Obviously this is a small city where I have lived for 3 years. Obviously this is a world that has been relived for 3 years. Obviously, this is a time that has been experienced before. Everything seems similar. But everything is very different. Yilin had countless question marks deep in her heart at this moment. But I don't know which question mark to start with. Because there are no answers to all the question marks. Yilin could only use his usual approach. There was insufficient information, so he put it down for the time being. In the evening, Yilin returns home. After all, it's not too miserable to have a place to stay in the city. Before entering, Yilin checked carefully and found that there were no signs of intrusion by outsiders, so she took a shower and heated up a quick meal. B-taste. This brand of instant meals is the only one that tastes good enough. While eating, another ridiculous idea flashed through Yilin's mind. Could it be that even after 3 years of training, he finally followed the historical trajectory and succeeded in killing Henry Zhang in a specific place at a specific time and in a specific weather? It was also an illusion? So in the end, what else is real in his memory, and what is an illusion? After the meal, Yilin lay on the bed. Yilin closed her eyes and meditated, and seemed to be fast asleep. Suddenly, Yilin jumped up from the bed with a serious expression. After a while, he slowly lay back down. There is another place. In the dark night, only Yilin's murmuring words remained. The next day. It's clear. It's early autumn now. When Yilin moved before, she bought a batch of autumn clothes. After putting on the equipment suitable for the season, Yilin left Qingcheng alone. I don't know when I will come back next time. Before stepping onto the entrance of the underground network, Yilin looked back at this strange yet familiar city. Goodbye, Qingcheng. In short, it's a farewell. Originally, Yilin was not such a sad person, but in the past 2 days, Yilin had suppressed many emotions in her heart, making it difficult to express them to anyone. Taking the Daiwang, Yilin arrived directly at Yuwo County. The moment she stepped out of the underground network, Yilin seemed to have returned to the previous century. The bluestone road continues forward, with withered yellow leaves floating down from time to time on both sides, exuding the desolation of early autumn. With a calm expression, Yilin arrived in front of the Yuwo County Welfare Home. Inside, all kinds of old men were wearing brand new autumn clothes and playing in the yard. Xiaolin, why are you back? Ha ha ha, why do you have time to come back to visit us old men and women? When the old dean saw Yilin step into the orphanage, he was surprised and overflowing with joy. A group of old men gathered around. Yilin also smiled and told them about her recent life. Of course, most of them are fabrications. These old men never went to college anyway, so they believed them and expressed their envy. When mentioning Ling Yi, Yilin simply said, "Yi is fine. She is currently undergoing treatment for her eyes at the best hospital in the capital. I believe she will be able to see things soon." The various good news brought by Yilin seemed to make the old men and women look much younger, and the wrinkles on their faces have faded a bit. After the pleasantries, Yilin immediately got to the point and brought up the business. "Old Dean, I would like to ask, do you still remember my life experience?" When the old Dean heard this, he was suddenly startled, and immediately looked at Yilin with a look that was becoming more and more familiar to him. This look has a meaning. Something is wrong with you. In the past 2 days, everyone had almost the same look in their eyes when they heard Yilin's question. Everyone thought something was wrong with Yilin. The old Dean smiled and said, "Did you forget? I told you when you were playing here when you were a child. And you still complained over and over again about why I gave you such a weird name, ha ha ha. As a child? Play." Yilin once again felt chills running down her spine. 10 minutes later, under the leadership of the dean, Yilin returned to his childhood room, which happened to be next door to Ling Yi. Everything in the room seems to have experienced the passage of time and is full of old smell, but it is still spotless, clean, and tidy. In front of the door, a sign belonging to Yilin was hung in crooked handwriting. Under the word Yilin, 2 numbers 10 are written. Wait, next door? In Yilin's memory, there was no room belonging to Yilin next door to Ling Yi. And he clearly remembered that there was also a sign hanging at the door of Ling Yi's room, and the number under her name was 01. Before, he always thought that this number referred to the room number. The old Dean Yu said, "I remember when you and Yi were sent to the orphanage, except for 2 numbers, there were no other clues about your identity. Yours was number 10, so you took the name Yilin name. As for Ling Yi, I used a redundant word for her name to make it sound better. Hey, I have a good taste in naming, right? You kid used to say that I have a bad taste in naming." "I see." Yilin suddenly realized. But more questions emerged. Yilin. 10. Ling Yi. 01. It turns out that this is the real bond between him and Ling Yi. In her memory, Ling Yi always said their names with a smile, and they were very destined. In this familiar yet unfamiliar world, he who has the number 10 has the memory of rebirth. A picture flashed in Yilin's mind. But there was only a picture. It was actually difficult for him to combine countless scenes into coherent memory fragments. "What is this? Ha ha ha." Yilin suddenly laughed. If everything is false, then what is true? He asked himself again. Who I am? What is the world? What is space and time? What is rebirth? So who is Ling Yi? Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Xueshi. Chapter 237. Yiren returns to the capital. Alone. After setting foot on this land again, Yilin's mentality was completely different from the last time. The whole world seemed to have become strange and illusory in Yilin's eyes. This is a feeling that is difficult to describe in words. For Yilin, it was as if these 2 short days had allowed him to experience a completely different life all over again. When he returned to Mali's research institute, Yilin did not tell Mali his experiences and doubts this time. If the time travel theory mentioned by Mali is incorrect, then what is the truth? The truth that Mali deduced was based on Yilin's correct memory. But when everything changed strangely, Yilin thought that Mali couldn't come to a conclusion either. Simply suppress all doubts for the time being. The world has changed, my identity has changed, my parents are gone, and everything seems different from what I remember. But there is only one thing that remains consistent. He is still an apostle struggling to survive in the other world. That's the only thing that won't change. In any case, in order to find out the source of all changes and the truth about rebirth, the first thing Yulin has to do is survive. All was well until November. Autumn is deep. The trajectory of life seems to be unchanged. After returning to the capital, Yulin set everyone to do not disturb. At the very least, he wanted to face the next trial with a calm mind. After returning to the capital, Yulin deliberately avoided Ling Yi. He didn't know how to face it either. So I chose to escape. As for Molly didn't have time to talk to him at all. Yulin was happy to have some leisure time. There are too many thoughts and the world is too chaotic. Yulin just wants to be quiet. In this timeline, the relationship between Ling Yi and Yulin is as plain as water, just like Ling Yi's answer, just friends. A few more days passed. November 7th. The familiar pain spreads from the mark of death. This time, Yulin bore the excruciating pain with a calm expression. The pain comes and goes like wind, as if it never came. Yulin quickly organized the storage space. As the level of the tower increases, there may be some bad starts, and Yulin has to guard against them. For the apostle, the storage space is only 1 cubic meter. Space is precious. It can be said that every inch is vital, and it is impossible to fill it all with personal items and food. Moreover, in the trial, it is impossible to set up a dead end. According to the nature of the tower, no matter how difficult the start is, there will always be a way to survive. It is impossible to set up an unsolvable start and a dead end. Yulin does not have this point. Worry too much. What makes Yulin feel strange is that in the past half-month, he has clearly sent the address here to Guzi, but Wang Tiandi doesn't know whether he has changed his mind, lost his way, or is on his way to the capital. In short, because of that incident, Yulin was not in the mood to pay attention to anyone, or even the dog. Ready. No suicide note required. Yulin didn't even say hello to anyone. Including Lao Pan, who had wandered to some unknown place. Each apostle is an individual, and each has his own destiny. Whether he survives depends entirely on his strength, and Yulin can't care about anyone. Let's come back alive first and then talk about it. Enter the other world. Familiar scene, familiar taste. Yulin's whole body was wrapped in a dazzling white light. Feet in the void. Loading. No matter how many times we encounter this familiar scene, we are always struck by the mystery contained in this scene. Perhaps only those who truly choose yes can experience this miraculous world for themselves. Travel through thousands of realms, fight life and death, and complete missions. If one day, his restrictions can be lifted and he can tell this story to others, what a touching story it will be. The premise is that it is not too late to die by then. The strange changes in reality were temporarily forgotten by Yulin. There are some things that Yulin hasn't figured out yet. Familiar reminders began to appear before my eyes. In this trial, the tower did not hide the task prompts, and it was blurred in everyone's faces during the loading process. Yulin gathered her emotions and did not dare to be careless. Every word was deeply imprinted in her memory before the reminder disappeared. Welcome to Styx Junior High School. 5 of you. He is a new transfer student in Class 2 of the 3rd year. Here, the learning atmosphere is strong and everything is thriving. The previous sentence, you can take it seriously or not. Every choice you make will determine your next destiny. Please remember, your own identity. Choose carefully and follow your heart. Note, all of this is your choice. Note, all of this is your choice. Note, all of this is your choice. Yulin. The main mission is now released, escape from Styx Junior High School mission time limit, until death the mission is completed and you return to the real world reward, unknown. Finished reading. Yulin looked at the reminder that the painting style was both familiar and unfamiliar, and she had many questions in her heart. but before the prompts disappeared, Yilin read all the prompts twice as quickly as possible to avoid missing any important points. Finally, the light in front of his eyes dissipated. Yilin officially entered the trial. When the light dissipated, Yilin immediately raised her vigilance to the highest level. In the ear, a voice that should be considered normal said loudly in a kind tone, "Now, let us welcome the 5 transfer students from Class 2 of Year 3 this semester with warm applause." Crash. After the voice finished speaking, there was sparse applause from all around, which didn't seem too enthusiastic. Junior high school? Yilin narrowed her eyes slightly. This start is still within an acceptable range. When Yilin regained her vision, she found herself in a classroom. He ignored the teacher who was talking on the podium and didn't know what to say. Instead, he used the fastest speed to look at the surrounding environment, making sure that the surrounding environment was temporarily safe first. Well, it's professionalism. The professionalism of a senior apostle. From the mission prompts, the only information that Yilin can clearly obtain at present is the location and their current identities. Location: Styx Junior High School, Class 2, Grade 3. Identity: a pink transfer student. The other tips are a bit unclear at the moment. Please remember, your identity. Yilin carefully considered a seemingly unimportant sentence in the prompt. But in fact, Yilin knew very well that no sentence in the task prompt was unimportant unless it was not good enough. Tazwell likes to play word games, and it's not just a matter of a day or two. Yilin has long been accustomed to it, so it's not surprising. Thinking of this, Yilin immediately put on a youthful look and a shy smile. Ah, acting is so difficult. While smiling, Yilin continued to observe, looking around. The style of the classroom in front of her, called Class 2 of the 3rd year, was somewhat different from the classrooms Yilin knew. It was not a difference in time or architectural style, but at first glance, Yilin found that the style of this classroom was quite strange. It is surrounded by walls except for the front and back doors. As the name suggests, it's really all walls. The walls are painted with simple white paint, and many places are full of cracks. Of course, the old walls are not what makes Yilin feel weird. What really makes Yilin feel weird is that the walls in the second-class classroom in the past 3 years there are actually no windows on the 4 walls. Not a single window. Why? Yilin noted this down for the time being, and then continued to observe. Beside him, there were 4 other people with different expressions, standing side by side. When Yilin saw the faces of the other 4 people clearly, the corners of her mouth and eyes twitched at the same time, and she almost couldn't help but say It turns out that this is what pink means. Sure enough, it's really pink. Yilin felt something was wrong and opened the Apostle panel as quickly as possible. Although the Apostle panel can be opened normally, the data is still the same. On the surface, there is no change. However, in the upper right corner of the Apostle panel, there is a cute pink rabbit buff icon, which seems to correspond to the word pink. So pink. Although Yilin couldn't see her face. But from the faces of the others, he had roughly guessed their current situation, but he hadn't had time to study it in depth. The skin of the other 4 people, both male and female, is smooth and delicate, with the greenness of a miner, mixed with the shyness of a flower in full bloom. Yilin. The other 4 people soon noticed something was wrong from the other people's faces, with shock and anger in their eyes. Yilin was the quickest to calm down and scratched his forehead without leaving any trace. Well, the dead skin is still there. In other words, this does belong to the ontology. But why is it this pink pose? Reversal of time? Ben cute. Yilin could roughly deduce from the texture on his palms and the faces of other people that he came to this trial at this time and was restored to the posture of 14 or 15 years old. At this age, it would be strange if she is not pink and tender. Yilin was experienced and thinking about various possibilities in her mind. Yilin calmed down in a short time. Yilin accepted the current start and situation faster than anyone else. In any case, being 15 or 16 years old is 100 times better than being in a situation where you are carrying 2 lumps of flesh and worrying about when your end will come or not. Thinking of this, Yilin breathed a sigh of relief and observed the changes in the expressions of the other 4 classmates with interest. Yilin had many thoughts in her mind, but it didn't take long. On the podium, the middle-aged male teacher, who seemed to be the head teacher of Class 2 of Grade 3, pointed directly at the many empty seats in the classroom after the students applauded with interest, and said in a casual tone, "Well, you 5, just find a seat and sit down, we will start teaching immediately." Yilin's expression was calm. But there was a movement in my heart. There seems to be something wrong with the transfer process. According to my impression, the normal process is that after applauding, you introduce yourself. The students have no interest in the identity of the ordinary transfer student. The pace is a bit fast. Yilin took the initiative to walk out and just picked a place to sit down. A few seconds later, another transfer student, a girl who could almost be said to have revealed her identity as an apostle, quickly walked to Yilin and sat down next to her, and the two became table mates. "Please give me more advice." The girl smiled sweetly. Yilin didn't come close or refuse, she just chuckled, "Okay." Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Shueshi. Chapter 238. Anyway, it's just the beginning of the trial. The main mission has been released early, and the goal is quite clear. This time, on the surface, there aren't many twists and turns, and it's a pure escape mission. In other words, there is currently no clear conflict of interest in the relationship between the apostles. Therefore, Yilin did not refuse the overtures from her desk mate. Anyway, everyone is well aware of the relationship between the apostles. They will still fall out without hesitation when it is time to fall out, and they will overturn the table when it is time to turn over the table. The current show of goodwill does not mean much. Stern. The girl hesitated for a moment and then asked softly. Yilin was slightly startled. Seemingly seeing through Yilin's doubts, the desk mate pursed his lips and showed Yilin the skull bag behind him. "I saw a label stuck on the back of Founder's brand new skull bag." "Sweet. Yilin." He immediately took out the arranged skull bag and took a closer look. Sure enough, there was a label on his own skull bag. Stern. This cute painting style almost made Yilin spit out a mouthful of blood. Tian Tian laughed softly again, "Add a friend." Yilin thought for a moment, "Well, okay, wait a minute." The girl who was called Sweet had a slightly condensed expression, but she covered her mouth and smiled without saying much. The conversation between the two seemed to be full of the sour smell of youth. The communication with the table mates ended in a harmonious and friendly atmosphere. On the desk, the head teacher was already writing quickly on the blackboard. Yilin did not notice the words on her skull bag just now, but Tian Tian, who was walking behind Yilin, read Yilin's name from Yilin's skull bag. Of course it's a cute nickname. Yilin shook her head helplessly, feeling that there were many things in her heart, but for a while she didn't know where to start. Stakes Junior High School, well, let's not mention the name for now. It's obviously a junior high school, but what's with the kindergarten-style skull bag and painting style? Isn't it too harmonious? Yilin lowered his head and thought. Think about the task. Escape. According to consistent experience, most escape missions place the apostles in a relatively closed and harsh environment. If the environment is not harsh enough or closed enough, the premise of escape will not be established. Although the painting style in front of her was very strange, Yilin did not dare to let down her guard. This also means that there are unknown turbulence hidden under the seemingly harmonious painting style. According to the bad taste of the tower, the weirder the start, the more terrifying the subsequent reversal will be. Just when Yilin was thinking carefully, Tianation's desk mate next to her stabbed Yilin hard. When Yilin raised her head, the head teacher on the desk was looking at Yilin with a look that was not angry or authoritative. Yilin also noticed at this time that what was written on the blackboard was not any words or formulas, but a very detailed diagram of human anatomy, down to every part of the muscles, blood vessels, nerves, and bones. Everything is available, and one cannot help but admire the versatility of the class teacher. You teach art, right? Wait, now seems not the time to lament the painter. Yilin was confused. What class is this now? Anatomy. Human biology. So realistic? Are today's junior high schools able to have this deep understanding of the human body? Although it was only a rough inspection, Yilin had a certain understanding of the structure of the human body. With his semi-professional vision, it was not difficult to tell that the anatomy diagrams drawn by the class teacher were very professional, clear, and distinct, and had the style of everyone. Tian also had a weird expression and didn't know what she heard. At this moment, a sudden change occurred. The head teacher's eyes stared at Yilin, who had deserted for a few seconds. Originally, Yilin seemed to be able to guess how the next bloody event would unfold, but the tower failed to do as he expected. With a series of prompts, Yilin's thoughts were instantly overturned. The head teacher noticed you. I noticed that you seemed to be flirting with your desk mate. It turned out that the head teacher was in an inexplicable mood today. When he asked a simple classroom question, everyone raised their hands, except you. Yilin. Is this a narration? The moment the narration appeared, Yilin rethought those weird paragraphs in the opening mission prompt. When those hints were connected with the narration that appeared in front of her, Yilin suddenly had an ominous premonition in her heart. Could it be the legendary cheating mode? Yilin remembered that in the past in the Apostle Forum, someone had posted a post saying that he had survived in a weird and deceptive multiple-choice QTE mode, self-named. This model once caused extensive discussion in the Apostolic Forum. To what extent do you cheat? In this kind of trial, everything from walking to fighting monsters is like a turn-based game, or like a text adventure game, full of various branch options. Once you choose the wrong one, it will lead to very surprising results. Effect. It is possible to be high-spirited 1 second, make wrong choices the next, make no sense, rise to the sky on the same spot, and land in a box at the speed of light. Regarding this mode, I don't know if there are not many people who have experienced it, or because there are not many people who have survived this cheating mode, no one has summarized the detailed key points and strategies for clearing the level. Another theory is that only a group of people with a certain level of luck will be assigned to this mode at the same time for an exciting battle royale. Although Yilin only deduced this conclusion based on past memories, based on the inexplicable narration and the initial mission prompt, and his current luck attribute, it is estimated that about the mode of their trial, 8-9 is inseparable from 10. While Yilin was thinking rapidly in her mind, the narration was still emerging line by line in front of Yilin's eyes. Glancing at the other transfer students, he saw that there was no special change in their expressions. Yilin's expression was calm, as if deep in thought. Why does a certain girl in the corner look familiar? The head teacher of Class 2, Grade 3, and Basha, thought seriously for a second. He thinks that while he is working hard to teach at the desk, you are not active in answering questions. Some people even flirt with girls openly, and the class teacher is furious. Yilin. Ambrsha. What a weird name. So, he decided to choose a child who seemed to be the unluckiest on the surface to answer this simple question. Yilin looked at the narrator, the corners of her mouth twitching slightly. Can you tell whether you are unlucky or not by looking at your face? A second after the last narration emerged. Really? The head teacher raised his eyebrows and coughed twice, and the gaze he was looking at Yilin seemed to materialize. Swish, swish, like a sword, like a knife. And Basha, the head teacher, smiled slightly and said, Lin, please stop what you are doing and stand up. Yilin stood up helplessly. He always felt that the name Lin was far more unacceptable than Elizabeth Lin. Please answer this question based on what you know. Good. Everyone turned their attention to the unlucky ghost Yilin. For some reason, Yilin always felt that there was something strange in other people's eyes. The other four apostles observed Yilin carefully at the same time. After all, after the trial started, Yilin got up and actually interacted with this trial. Maybe this observation can reveal some information. Everyone fell silent instantly. As we all know, the meat of the vaporized giants is delicious and thick. Let me test you. Do you know which part of the vaporized giant's body is the most suitable for making female worms and shredded pork salad? Yilin. At the moment Ambersha asked. In front of you. Once again the prompt emerged. But the prompt that emerged this time was not narration. But. Option. Please choose. A. The tendon muscle in the upper third of the inner thigh. B. The interspinal muscles on the back of the neck are cut into thin slices with a knife and then chilled, with the skin on. C. How would I know if I've never eaten it? Ambersha asked. Yilin's table mate, the girl who called herself Xiao Tian, suddenly turned pale, as if her imagination was too rich and she thought of some dark cuisine. Except for the 5 poor apostles, the other students in the class showed so simple expressions, almost clearly showing on their faces. Some even raised their hands as if to take credit, and kept waving them in front of teacher Ambersha. Seemingly hoping that teacher Ambersha would let him answer this extremely simple question. Yilin had no time to care about other people's current expressions. Because the moment the option appeared, Yilin had already discovered something fishy. And, where the danger lies. I see. It turns out that's what those prompts meant. It seems that others have not discovered this yet. Yilin suddenly understood. Ambersha's expression became more and more unkind. Yilin had a feeling that if he didn't make a choice soon, there would be dire consequences. Every choice will determine our next fate? Us? Every step? Haha, the cheating mode is kind of interesting. 3 seconds later. It stands to reason. Yilin definitely doesn't know the answer to this question. According to the iron rule of multiple choice questions, choose C if you don't know. But this option C, it seems, maybe, makes Yilin feel that something may go wrong once she chooses it. So Yilin chose to follow her heart, confidently, and answered loudly. I choose B. No, the moment he said B, Ambersha's expression was stunned. Yilin reacted instantly, that is to say, these 3 options can only be seen by them as apostles, so Yilin immediately changed his words smoothly. I mean, as we all know, the vaporized giants only have the back of their necks. The real essence lies in the intermuscular muscles, which are cut into translucent thin slices with superb knife skills. As Yilin spoke, she squinted her eyes with an intoxicated expression, recalling the feeling of being massaged by Ruth, and entered the scene at the speed of light. You know, the thin slices cut out by exquisite knife skills, after being chilled, combined with the evocative feeling of the female insect. The infinite taste, even if it is made into the simplest salad, seems to sublimate the soul and give people a sense of pleasure as if they traveled to the past and the future. I believe this is the best option. You know, the best ingredients often only require the simplest cooking methods. I firmly believe that this is the ultimate cuisine for me. Maybe other people will have different opinions, but some people have different tastes, don't they? After Yilin finished speaking, she looked at Anbasha with a confident look. Can I sit down? Teacher Anbasha. In an instant, everything was silent. Vomit. Beside her, Tian made retching sounds from her throat. Pot, 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 pot. But after Anbasha smiled and motioned for Yilin to sit down, in an instant, the entire Class 2 classroom of Grade 3 was filled with thunderous applause, covering up Tianation's classmate's retching sound. Yulin breathed a sigh of relief. But then, reminders appeared in front of him frequently, making him feel something bad again. Because your answer resonated with Dibbo, classmate Dibbo's favorability add 5. Because your answer resonated with Julia, classmate Julia's favorability add 7. Because of your answer. A series of plus NS flooded Yulin's vision. Tianation's classmate retched like an early pregnancy reaction because her association ability was too rich. But she soon realized that it was impossible not to notice the weirdness of the start after all. She immediately put on an excited expression and clapped vigorously to the rhythm of the others. Bang bang bang, bang bang, bang bang bang, rhythmic. After doing this, Yulin seemed to have found some clues. Yulin always felt that something was wrong with those messy favorability levels. If this is also part of the choice, then in the future, it is very likely that due to this change in favorability, more uncontrollable trajectories will occur. While analyzing, Yulin began to feel pain in her forehead. After Yulin answered the question, the class teacher and Basha was not so ruthless as to pick out the other pink transfer students one by one and do it. Maybe it doesn't make sense. The lecture continues. After Yulin sat down proudly, he suddenly felt the death mark on his chest vibrate slightly. It is well known among the apostles that the communication function of the apostles is absolutely impossible to connect across borders. In other words, those who can send messages in the trial in the other world can only contact each other if they are also in the trial and have been added to the address book. Yulin remained calm and quickly opened the communication panel. Oda my. Yulin was slightly shocked. So coincidental? It seems that my Oda's level is very similar to his. And it is estimated that the luck value attribute is not high, otherwise they would not be in the same cheating trial by coincidence. Yulin thought of the girl who looked familiar just now. It turned out to be her. Oda Mai's facial features were not very recognizable, so after becoming cute, Yulin didn't recognize her at first sight, but she just felt a little familiar. Thinking about it now, what seemed familiar to Yulin was not Oda Mai's face, but the iceberg temperament that kept strangers away, as if he would take out a knife and stab him at any time. It seems that Oda Mai first recognized herself through the name Rinlin and her vaguely identifiable facial features. In the communication panel, Oda Mai didn't say anything, but slowly typed a question mark. Oda Mai? Yulin, yeah. Oda Mai, oh. Yulin? Oda Mai, no. Yulin. The two chatted awkwardly for a few words. Yulin hesitated for a moment, but decided to remind Oda Mai concisely. Yulin, don't let others find out that we know each other for the time being. Oda Mai. Yulin, convenient for Yin people. Oda Mai, got it? The call ends here. Yulin was very satisfied with this simple and clear conversation. Unlike the quarrel with Gu Tianqing, there is no point in the quarrel, and we still have to watch out for each other. Yulin didn't expect Oda Mai to be here. Although the relationship between the two was not too friendly, it was still a matter of adversity. They probably wouldn't stab each other until the last moment. Finally, this vivid and unique anatomy class finally came to an end. Yulin stood up, and the students had left one after another, talking and laughing. Well, this rhythm is pretty normal. If the plot ensues because of that little favorability, it will actually look scary. Soon. There were only 5 apostles left in the classroom, looking at each other. Old God Yulin was here, and regardless of what others thought, he looked at the apostle panel again. Ambrish's question just now was too sudden, and Yulin didn't have time to check the buff icon he cared about. That cute rabbit buff. The weird start, the strange buff, and the less stupid apostles should all be able to find that this buff is a key problem. The rabbit icon is indeed very cute, so cute that you want to pull it out from the panel. Yulin reached out and picked it. Of course I didn't dig it out. But the moment his finger touched the buff icon, a time reminder appeared. 70 hours 4 minutes and 33 seconds. Haha, countdown. What will happen when the countdown to cute rabbit buff ends? Rising to the sky and falling to the ground into a box? Yulin thought for a while and then rejected the idea after a few seconds. If this is really the case, then this time there is no need to go through a till death escape mission. In other words, after the cute rabbit buff countdown ends, some amazing changes will definitely occur. It may be tragic, or the game may be broken. No one knows the result before the buff countdown ends. But it is estimated that no one wants to experience for themselves what this result will be like if it falls on them. After completing the observation, Yulin felt that she could not draw any other conclusions, so she closed the panel. While Yulin was observing the buff icon and countdown, the other 4 apostles were still staring with big eyes and no one said anything. Yulin found it a little funny. Of course, they haven't made a choice yet, and they probably don't understand the deception of this trial yet. Yulin silently placed her skull bag on the table, presenting it in front of the other apostles from an angle that everyone could see. Others understand instantly. Then everyone introduced themselves in this strange way. At this start, the identities of the 5 people have been made clear. However, in the escape trial, it is not necessary to hide the identity of the apostle. Except for Yulin, everyone else's school bags had written on them. Tian Tian, Weavuo, Han Han, Liu Liu. Well, no matter what, Yulin always feels weird. There were 3 women and 2 men in total. After Yulin simply wrote down their assigned code names, they looked at each other and left without saying anything else. By the way, among the remaining 4, the only other male student is Han Han. Ah no, Han Han. A man with half-inch hair and ordinary facial features. Another girl named Lulu smiled shyly and didn't say much. Before she knew what would happen next, Yulin did not reveal the fact that she knew Oda Mai, so she picked up her school bag and left the classroom. According to the class schedule, it seems to be lunch break now, and there are about 3 hours of free time. There is another inexplicable class after lunch break. Higher order theory. It doesn't seem like there's a big problem. But now is not the time to think about the afternoon either. In the apostle panel, the cute rabbit buff in the upper right corner only has about 70 hours left, and only 3 days to fully count. Others probably noticed this too, with different expressions. Oda Mai still had that cold and paralyzed expression on her face, making it impossible to guess what she was thinking. As Yulin walked out, he briefly sent Oda Mai a brief account of his experience in class. It is an initial expression of sincerity in cooperation. However, Yulin did not express any specific speculation about the trial. Oda Mai is not a fool, and Yulin does not dare to say that her speculation is 100% correct. If she directly tells her conclusion, it may limit Oda Mai's ideas, and then she will be trying in vain. Advantages in exchanging information. Yulin just reminded, be careful with multiple choice questions. Oda Mai did not reply, which was very similar to her temperament. When I walked out of the classroom door, my desk mate Tian Tian came over. I said, Brother Lin. Before he finished speaking, Yulin interrupted with a smile, don't call me brother yet, maybe you are older than me. Oh, I'm talking about age. Tian Tian. Yulin took a few more steps. Unexpectedly, Tian Tian was still reluctant, but she was smart and did not dare to get too close. Instead, she kept a subtle distance and asked again, did Brother Lin find anything special in class just now? Can you reveal a little bit? Yulin turned her head. I feel like this woman is a bit confused. Why, am I familiar with you? But when Yulin took 2 more steps, he suddenly froze in place. Yulin said casually, no need to tell, you will know soon. Tian Tian was stunned, right away. A second later, she froze in place. At this moment, She couldn't even move her fingers. Oda Mai and Han Han and Liu stepped out of the classroom one after another. The moment they stepped out of the classroom door, they noticed that Yilin and Tian Tian were in a slightly ambiguous posture. Yilin was frozen in place with a wind-like back. And Tian Tian walked behind Yilin, stretching out her little hand towards Yilin's back, as if she could reach it, and yet it seemed like the world was far away. Tian Tian looked at Yilin's back, with a resentful expression on her face. This sad and beautiful picture, freeze at this moment. Oda Mai. Han Han. Lulu. Ah, this? Love comes so suddenly and quickly? Before their doubts could be expressed, a few seconds later, the three of them froze in place. Let's not talk about other people first. Just a few steps after Yilin walked out of the classroom door, the fresh style narration appeared in front of her again. As a pink transfer student, you happily communicated with other freshmen and introduced yourself after you felt a little hungry. You left the classroom. When you step out of the classroom door, with nothing to do, you begin to hesitate. You are not very familiar with the Styx Junior High School, and you don't know other people, you don't even know how to spend this rare lunch break. So you will. Please choose. A. As a new transfer student, I am not familiar with the environment. It is not too much to accidentally get lost and run to the school gate, right? B. If I don't go to the canteen to eat when I'm hungry, is there something wrong with my mind? Even if the King of Heaven comes, I can't stop him. C. The rooftop of every school is always full of various legends, or full of romantic encounters in various positions. Isn't it right for me to try my luck? Hiss. Yilin couldn't help but take a breath when she saw those three weird options. The 5 transfer students seemed to be suffering from difficulty choosing and difficulty reading and difficulty thinking syndrome at this moment, and they were frozen in the corridor at the same time, not daring to move. Yilin even tried to activate the skill. But he discovered that as long as he didn't make a choice, he couldn't even activate his skills. At this moment, time froze, space froze, and they were fixed here. Out of 5. Suddenly there was movement behind Yilin. Someone made a choice. There was not much time to hesitate. Yilin did not dare to risk handing over her back to anyone when she was unable to move. After hesitating for less than half a second, Yilin made her choice. Everything comes from the heart. Option B. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Shueshi. Chapter 239. Although the time is short. But this B, Yilin did not choose randomly. When there was movement behind them, except for Yilin, the 5 apostles seemed to have a clear understanding of each other and made their own choices within almost the same amount of time. The moment Yilin made his choice, his legs moved forward involuntarily, without his control. Others also moved towards their own options, silently heading straight there. So the choice of action is different from the choice of language. Yilin instantly made a new discovery. This feeling is very wonderful. Although his body is not completely out of control, it seems that somewhere in the Styx Junior High School, there is a place that has a great attraction for Yilin. As long as you lift your legs, you will walk in a certain direction involuntarily. You can't help it. However, other subtle movements, such as turning the head, swinging the arms, contracting the hips and other limbs or muscles, are not restricted. If I had to sum up this strange state in one sentence, it would be, one's mouth is too honest for one's body. Yilin turned around with a smile, her feet walked automatically, and said, I think you guys have no problem, right? Except for Oda Mai, everyone else was walking with their heads down, with a bit of surprise on their expressions. After Tian Tian made her choice, she finally understood the meaning of Yilin's words, and also suddenly understood what happened in class. I see. Is this how it is played? After making a choice, everyone has their own plans in mind. To be precise, after seeing the options, they had already started to make plans, so they made a conscious choice. Could this be the legendary automatic pathfinding function? It seems that in games of the last century, some studies have shown that this incidental function may cause the player's gaming IQ to drop significantly, so it has been cancelled in later games. This function is quite convenient to a certain extent. Yilin lowered his head and spoke to himself in a voice that only he could hear. 5 people came to the stairs one after another. At this time, during the lunch break, you can occasionally see groups of Styx Junior High School students walking in the corridors happily and naturally, with innocent smiles on their faces, filled with the flavor of youth. If it hadn't been for that anatomy lesson just now, I might have actually believed you. Yilin complained secretly. In the stairwell, the 5 people began to go their separate ways based on their different choices. Oda Mai and Han Han turned right one after another and walked towards the upper stairs. Rooftop. Yilin wrote down all the options, in order to avoid certain traps hidden in the options. So by looking at the direction of the 2 of them, I could roughly guess their choice. At the same time, Yilin also discovered a pattern. Under the same conditions, or under the same triggering conditions, there should not be much difference in the options of the 5 of them. But as the trial progresses, after everyone makes different choices and actions, everyone's next options will definitely become more and more different. Every choice you make will determine your future fate. Is this what you mean? No, maybe it's not that simple. The tower never gives such obvious hints. Of course, this is not absolute. Yilin savored the initial mission prompt carefully. He always felt that there must be some most critical mission clue hidden in those few prompts. While Yilin was thinking, Tian Tian, Lulu, and Yilin, 2 boys and 1 girl, walked down the stairs. The entire journey was speechless. Tian Tian didn't continue flirting, and she didn't know if it was because of Luliu's presence. Liu is a shy girl. Compared with others, she has the strongest aura of books, and she doesn't know what her identity is in reality. After arriving on the first floor, Lulu and Tian Tian left the teaching building and walked in a certain direction at the same time. Door. After thinking for a moment, Yilin understood their options and couldn't help but lower her head and smile. Among the 3 options, there are 3 locations respectively. Door. Canteen. Rooftop. Although they had no memories of Styx Junior High School in their minds, they did not get the map. But speaking only literally, if you want to escape from Styx Junior High School, gate is the best solution, rooftop is the second, and canteen is the most inexplicable. If there were no surprises in Tian Tian and Liu's choices, they should have chosen the gate of Styx Junior High School from this choice of action. Doors always remind people of exits, and this is understandable. By choosing the rooftop, you can take the opportunity to take in the entire structure of Styx Junior High School from a high position, laying a good foundation for the next escape plan. Everyone has good ideas. Yilin was very emotional. At this level, it seems that it is rare to see a guy who is obviously not very smart. Otherwise, it would be difficult to survive until now, unless he is very lucky. Think of luck. Pan Zhenji's silly smile suddenly flashed through Yilin's mind. That guy with an abnormal brain is really a miracle to be alive to this day. Could it be that a lucky value as high as 8.6 can really do whatever he wants? After inferring other people's thoughts, Yiren was a little surprised that that guy Oda Mai actually started to use his brain, which made Yiren quite impressed. In the automatic pathfinding mode, Yilin arrived at the cafeteria about 10 minutes later. If it weren't for the main mission, Yilin might have doubted whether the prosperous scene along the way was really the place for this trial. The cafeteria is an old building. The curved roof was covered with mottled scarlet rust, giving off a faint smell of decay. The cafeteria of Styx Junior High School looks like a red egg from the outside. The same style as the teaching building, there seemed to be no windows, and the entire cafeteria seemed airtight. The open door was like a dormant monster opening its mouth, waiting for Yilin to come to the door. Yilin hesitated at the door for a moment. He tried a little, trying to move his legs elsewhere, but they wouldn't move. Until the choice is completely completed, freedom cannot be fully restored. Yilin's eyes flashed and her expression was calm. There were students, both male and female, coming in and out, and from time to time someone would cast strange glances at Yilin. If you continue like this, it will undoubtedly be inconsistent with your identity. The prompt also clearly states, please remember your identity. What happens if you do too many things that are inconsistent with your identity? Without more information, Yilin did not intend to try it casually. This is one of the reasons why Yilin chose to go to the cafeteria. During the lunch break, as a hungry student, eating in the cafeteria is the most suitable option for my apparent status. None of them. They come, the security. Yilin smiled and decisively stepped into the cafeteria. The moment he stepped through the cafeteria door, the invisible restraints on Yilin's legs quietly dissipated. Just stepping into the cafeteria door has already restored Yilin's freedom. Huh? As long as you enter the cafeteria and don't continue to the next step, what will happen if I turn around now? Nothing will happen. Another speculation emerged in Yilin's mind. Take every step of the way. And right here. Yilin's expression slightly condensed. Unexpectedly, but within reason, the narrator appears again. In a strange school, you have arrived at the cafeteria. Yilin sighed helplessly, holy shit, as expected. The legendary incident of 5 transfer students appearing in Class 2 of 3 years for the first time this year has spread throughout the entire Styx Junior High School in a short period of time. Maybe it's because of your appearance, or maybe it's because of your temperament. In short, when you stepped into the cafeteria, many students already recognized you. There are even your classmates among them, who have complicated feelings towards you. You suddenly feel a little scared. Because you show enough stage fright for this unfamiliar environment. Yilin thought for a moment. Should he shake his legs a little at this time to better assume this identity? Otherwise, how can we call it stage fright? In these short but important narrations, Yilin quickly extracted key information. This trial is getting more and more interesting. The narrator is still reading the narration tirelessly. But you are hungry. Very hungry. Really hungry. So you. Please choose. Forget it, the unfamiliar environment made me lose my appetite instantly. Forget it this time, I will definitely do it next time. B. I don't care if there are crowds of people. If you are hungry, you must eat first. C. I changed my mind. I want to go to other places, such as the girls' locker room. Maybe I will enter an unexpected world. Yilin. This C? Something is wrong. What happens if you choose C? Just rush into the girls' locker room in pathfinding mode. So if something happens, who will be responsible? Yilin hesitated for a few seconds. Option C was too weird for Yilin to make the decision. Besides, what's so cool about the girls' locker room? As for A, Yilin immediately ruled it out. After much thought, option B is safer. So Yilin chose B again. After selection, in full view of everyone, Yilin came to the ant in the dining hall. Yilin raised his head. The appearance of the ant in the dining hall made Yilin couldn't help but pay more attention to it, because this figure reminded him of Suzayasu. The ant in the cafeteria had a lot of anger on her face, and she squeezed out a kind smile. This classmate, there is a new recipe today. What do you want to eat? You look like a stranger, are you new here? Don't worry, the whole Styx, everyone in the cafeteria knows that auntie, I'm famous for my hands not shaking when serving food, so I can take care of my food. The ant in the dining hall had a fierce voice, leaned down from the gap in the wall, shook the big spoon a few times, and signaled Yilin to choose the dishes as soon as possible. When Yilin arrived at the food window, don't know why, people gathered around her one after another, and countless eyes fell on Yilin's back, giving Yilin the illusion of a swishing cold light on her back. Before my eyes, a choice appeared again. Facing the brand new dishes, you glanced at them. Among them, several dishes caught your attention. At this time, you choose A. Fresh eyeballs stuffed with tendon meat. B. Roasted bone marrow puree with pus and blood grass foam. C. Stir-fried shredded potatoes and beef. The devil is happy. D. Auntie, only children make choices, I want them all. Yilin. At the same time, Oda Mai and Han Han came to the rooftop. When the two of them reached the rooftop, their restraints were released at the same time. They were free again. There was only one girl standing on the rooftop. Oda Mai suddenly frowned slightly and subconsciously placed her right hand across her waist. But at this moment, she didn't have a knife on her waist. After a moment of silence with her lips pursed, she put her hand down again. Han Han had been paying attention to Oda Wu's actions. When he saw this, he smiled slightly. It seems that Wu Wu, you are a practicing master. Oda Mai raised her head and looked at the confident man in front of her. Haha, don't look outside. I'm ashamed to say that I don't have any abilities worth bragging about, but my observation skills are pretty good, so I can survive until now. The smile on Han Han's face grew wider. Your gait is steady and powerful, the inner thighs are naturally close together, and the gap in width between each step is no more than 2 centimeters. It seems that you have been practicing for many years, huh? Practicing swordsmanship? Sorry, I just took a guess. Your temperament reminds me of a swordsman. Oda Mai's expression remained the same as before, but there was a hint of evil aura between her brows. Han Han waved his hands quickly. Haha, no, calm down. Don't look like that. I just want to say that in this escape mission, there is no need for us to be hostile to each other. After all, from the main mission, it seems that we should not. At the very least, it won't come down to fighting each other, at least for now. Besides, I think since you chose the rooftop, you should have the same idea as me, so I just want to say a few more words. After all, I personally like to deal with smart people the most. Oda Mai. You should also have discovered the weirdness of this school from the classroom. If I guessed correctly, all the students in this school are not ordinary people. Every choice seems ordinary, but in fact there is a hidden murderous intention, and if you choose the wrong one, it is very likely to trigger some kind of certain death flag. Han Han smiled confidently, and seeing that Oda Mai did not refute, he continued, of the 3 options, the gate is obviously a trap. Since it is an escape mission, it is natural to think of going to the school gate. But this time, how could it be so easy to put the escape hatch in the open during the trial? If I'm not wrong, there is a 90% chance that the gate option is a trap. A trap that will lead to no return if you step into it. If they choose to go to the gate, they can only ask for good luck. Han Han did not hesitate to tell Oda Mai the precious information. Because in his opinion, since Oda Mai chose the rooftop like him, she must have thought of the same place as him. At the beginning of the trial, trying to win over smart teammates is one of the experiences he has gained from surviving so many trials. 1 godly teammate is always better than 3 pig teammates. This escape trial was weirder than he imagined. It would be very difficult for a person to pass the trial. By telling this trivial information, Han Han just wanted to show some sincerity so that he could see this person. Girls who have good fighting ability will be recruited into their team. In the trial, isn't it normal practice to form separate camps or form temporary teams? When you are not sure where the escape exit is, it is undoubtedly the smartest thing to do from a high position and master the map. Oda Mai heard the words, but did not express an opinion. She looked around Han Han and looked forward with deep eyes. In the empty rooftop, there was a girl standing quietly on the edge of the rooftop, looking into the distance. When Han Han arrived at the rooftop, he had already noticed the girl's presence. Because of this, he instantly showed hostility to Oda Mai, and judging from the side, Oda Mai's combat power should be very amazing. This subconscious reaction to an enemy cannot form a conditioned reflex without accumulated practice. Everyone has experienced passing trials. Han Han is no exception. Making use of all the people and things available in the trial has been his creed that has survived to this day. He believed that those who could see through the traps in the options and choose option C must have clear logic and extraordinary wisdom. He also believed that when he stated his reasoning in an orderly and logical manner, his expression was cold. A smart woman will definitely choose to cooperate in this trial. As for when the cooperation will be terminated, it is not up to her. Han Han had many thoughts running through his mind. Full of confidence. A weird start like this is actually what he is good at. Rather than relying on force, he would rather rely on wisdom. Wisdom is the ladder of human progress. The same is true for the apostles. So he is the spiritual side. Oda Mai lowered her head and drew her right hand slightly, as if hesitating. In fact, Han Han didn't expect that Oda Mai's subconscious action was just thinking about whether the rowdy man in front of him could be chopped. In the eyes of Mai Oda, there are two kinds of people in the world. Those who can be cut, and those who cannot be cut for the time being. Just these two, not the third? When Oda Mai lowered his head to think, Han Han, in order to give Oda Mai enough time to think, also slowly walked towards the girl who stood proudly like a white lotus on the rooftop and looked into the distance. The initial option must have great significance. Choose one of the three, rooftop should be the correct answer. I wasn't 100% sure before, but the appearance of this girl proved that I was right. The most unique existence must have its own meaning. It is very likely that this is one of the NPCs who provided key information during this trial. Han Han thought so. But he didn't dare to let down his guard. After all, that vivid anatomy lesson has sounded the alarm for everyone. Something is wrong with everyone here. Whether it's the school or the students in front of me who seem to have nothing wrong with them. It seems peaceful, but there is a turbulent undercurrent inside. Of course, even if there is no need to remind him, as an apostle, he cannot be careless in this situation. The funny thing about towers is that the more seemingly harmless a place is, the more murderous it is. This is often the case. Right now. In front of Han Han, the narrator appeared. You choose to go up to the rooftop, whether you are about to face a romantic encounter, look down at an unfamiliar scenery, or feel the blowing breeze, no matter what you encounter, your decision will not let you waver in the slightest. The moment Han Han saw the narrator appear, he felt happy in his heart. Really? Looks like you made the right choice. The narrator ignored Han Han's mood and continued. A girl suddenly appears in front of you. A girl who makes you feel that the world in front of you suddenly becomes pale. The back of this girl makes you feel as if at this moment, it no longer matters what the world has become. So, you choose. A. Walk up and pat the girl on the shoulder and ask her name. B. Walk quietly to the girl's side, staring at the sky with blurred eyes. C. Immediately turn around and leave, giving up on the encounter that may happen in this story. I'm coming. Another multiple choice question. Obviously, this NPC is delivering information. As long as you make the right choice and can strike up a conversation with this girl, you will most likely be able to extract more information about Styx High School from the girl's mouth. This school building obviously has a certain age. Maybe someone in the school knows about hidden secret passages, abandoned back doors, rivers in underground caves. Hidden exits like this might be the real answer to escape. Han Han calmed down instantly, stayed where he was, and carefully observed the options. He had already noticed the weirdness of the initial mission prompt. Every option is extremely important. Just like a traditional text adventure game, if you make the wrong choice, it is very likely to lead to another branch line, or even a plot where the hero dies on the spot after receiving the lunchbox. Be careful, be careful. First, option C can be excluded. Leave. What to do when you leave? Doesn't that mean that even the choice of going to the rooftop becomes meaningless? Haha, if you don't take the initiative and I don't take the initiative, how can there be a story? Option C must be a trap, it's obvious, and option A, in romance novels, this is a typical loser's way of picking up a conversation. No one has used this routine in the last century. For option B, the rank is a little higher and a bit old-fashioned. If I could choose, I would just say, this classmate, what is the color of love in your eyes? To start, well, you can only choose one of the three. If so, B should be the optimal solution. Suddenly, from the corner of his eye, Han Han saw that Myota, who was standing at the entrance to the rooftop, had disappeared while he was concentrating on solving multiple choice questions. You actually left. Han Han was surprised. He originally speculated that the probability of cooperation should be more than 70%. There is some regret in my heart, but now is not a good time to regret. I can only wait until the small plot in front of me is over, and then go to Weeview to have a good chat. Well, we'll talk about that later. More later. There should be a chance later. Han Han deliberated for another 10 seconds and finally chose B. Soon, Han Han's eyes revealed 3 parts of loneliness, 3 parts of loneliness, 3 parts of confusion, and 1 part of sadness hidden in the deepest parts. With this complex look, Han Han looked at him with this slightly sad look. Character, walking towards the woman staring at the sky. Close, close, close. Han Han felt that his palms were a little sweaty, and he didn't know whether it was because of nervousness or fear. 10 meters, 5 meters, 3 meters. At this time, Han Han was finally able to see the girl's profile clearly from this angle, and he felt instantly amazed. The girl's side face inadvertently reveals 3 parts of loneliness, 3 parts of loneliness, 3 parts of confusion, and 1 part of sadness hidden in the deepest part. Wait, why is this persona so similar to what he appears? Just as the two of them were getting closer. Before Han Han could speak, the girl turned her back to him and suddenly spoke softly in an ethereal tone. Now, do you know what color the sky is? Han Han looked confused. Wait, there seems to be something wrong with this script. Hasn't the choice he made not been implemented yet? Why are scenario changes different from options? Another place. At the same time. After crossing the playground, Lulu and Tian Tian finally arrived at the gate of Styx Junior High School. People were coming and going on the playground, some were cuddling up and talking about love, some were eating packed lunches, some were playing sports, and some were kissing in public. At first glance, everything seemed no different from normal campus life. With a strange mood, driven by the pathfinding mode, Lulu and Tian Tian stopped 10 meters away from the gate of Styx Junior High School almost at the same time. In an instant, both of them were shocked and couldn't help but look at each other in confusion. Those who keep books are ready to be slaughtered. It's almost a million words. Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Shueshi. Chapter 240. The reason why Tian Tian and Liu Liu were surprised. It's not because the scene now presented to them is too terrifying, nor is it because the difficulty of escape presented by the gate is beyond their imagination. Rather, the outcome of this gate option turned out to be beyond their initial imagination, ordinary. The gate is made of 2 iron gates, randomly locked with a rusty chain as thick as a bowl, and the chain is locked with an equally rusty lock. The keyhole is very large and appears to be a very old spring-type lock structure. It seems that if you know a little bit of lock-picking skills, you can easily pry it open. Next to the gate of Styx Junior High School, there stood a simple security booth made of red bricks. The security booth looked like a simple public toilet, with walls on all sides, no windows, and only a wooden door that looked like it could be broken with a slap. Beside the door, an ugly old dog with wrinkled fur lay lazily beside the door. The old dog's expression has no moral integrity at all. Even when he is sleeping, he is licking his face, like the type who can pick up a bone just by throwing it away. This? Although Tian Tian and Liu Liu look delicate and weak, they are still apostles after all. An apostle who has survived to this day. At this point, the exit of Styx Junior High School was not blocked by an iron wall as they imagined. This contrast made them hesitate. When something goes wrong, there must be a monster. Tian Tian rubbed her eyes. Lu Liu's slender fingers trembled slightly. Neither of the two girls spoke. When arriving at the gate, the constraints from multiple choice question had disappeared. In other words, they can move freely now. Looking up, he saw that apart from the gate, the wall was only over 2 meters high. For the apostles, that was a height that could be easily crossed. Lu Liu's fingers finally stopped trembling, and her heart seemed to calm down. A wry smile appeared at the corner of her mouth. The trap seems too obvious, right? Oh, drink. Tian Tian turned to look at Lulu, half smiling but not smiling. I thought you would pretend to be generous and let me try to escape first. Lulu pursed her lips and smiled, still a bit shy in her smile. No, sister, you shouldn't be that stupid. Tianation's expression was slightly cold. Call me sister. Lulu. The exit is right in front of you. The two of them did not dare to move. After just talking nonsense, both of them felt clear in their hearts. If they could really escape from this school by climbing over the wall, then this trial would be too ridiculous. Taking a step back, if one of the ways of escape in this escape trial is really as simple as climbing over the wall, I guess the final evaluation will not be too high. As we all know, the final evaluation of the trial in the other world is often proportional to the difficulty. Time passes minute by minute. When they were doing nothing, they noticed something strange. During the lunch break, when all the students in Styx Junior High School were free to move around, no one took the initiative to approach this place. Why? Could it be that this place is inaccessible for some reason? Or, this is not the way out at all? Then what is the purpose of setting up a gate? Decoration. The weather was not hot, and the sky was gray. After being frozen in place for a few minutes, a layer of moisture appeared on their foreheads. Retreat. Tian Tian asked in a low voice, as if she was asking Lulu beside her, but also as if she was asking herself. Retreat. Lulu did not hesitate. It was only the first day, and the escape trial lasted more than 70 hours. Even if this is really the exit, as long as the position of the door remains unchanged, they can come at any time. There is no need to take risks in the current lack of information. After all, you only have one life, use it and cherish it. And right now. Suddenly. Eep. Both logically and unexpectedly, the door opened. The moment the door opened, Lulu and Tian Tian, who had been tense, took a step back at the same time, with goosebumps rising all over their bodies. Well, you two classmates, what are you doing here? A bald man walked out of the house with a pair of indifferent eyes. The bald man was wearing a dark blue security uniform, which looked nothing special. Doorman. Yes. Isn't it normal for the school gate to have a guard? Is it normal for a doorman to keep a dog? I'm so normal as a ghost. Tian Tian and Liu Liu looked at each other. Under this situation, the two apostles subconsciously regarded each other as teammates, no longer cheating each other overtly or covertly, and first dealt with the current situation. Tian Tian just opened her mouth to say something. But it stopped suddenly. Narrator appeared in front of the two of them instantly. You seem to want to leave campus. The only guard at Styx Junior High School, third uncle, appears in front of you. Uncle San feels that you guys look very unfamiliar, and although he can't see it on the surface, he is very confused about your appearance here. Please choose your answer. A. Good uncle, dear uncle, I want to go out to buy sweets, can you let us go out? B. Uncle Guard, look at my innocent eyes, do you believe me when I say I'm just lost? C. Without saying a word, he turned around and left. The same options appeared in front of them. Tian Tian and Lulu fell silent for a moment. There was no further communication. The moment Liu Liu and Tian Tian saw the three options, an inexplicable strange feeling hit them, which actually gave them the illusion of chills running down their spines at the same time. It feels like if you make the wrong choice, you will die here. The three apparently simple options made it difficult for them to make up their minds. Just when they hesitated, the third uncle, the bald doorman, and the old dog beside him raised their eyelids slightly. The third uncle also took a step forward and frowned. Huh? Why don't you say anything? Didn't your teacher tell you not to approach the gate if you have nothing to do? Or is it that you are broken? When Tian Tian heard this, she was shocked. Sure enough, there is such a taboo. The teacher really didn't say anything. Only the devil knows. The third uncle started to get a little impatient. Please answer as soon as possible. Or leave here immediately. Etc. What's going on with this suddenly tense atmosphere? This question has a time limit. 1 second. 2 seconds. 3 seconds. The bald man took another step forward with a bad look on his face. Suddenly, Tian Tian took a breath, then turned and left without saying anything. A trace of surprise flashed in Luliu's eyes. Are you leaving now? So decisive? After Tian Tian chose C without saying a word, she turned around and left. As expected, the bald uncle didn't pursue the matter, and still stared emotionlessly at Lulu, who had not left, with a pair of dead fish eyes. So, C should be safe. But it's obvious that option C has nothing to gain and is just a retreat path. Can I just retreat? Lulu was a little reluctant, but the ending after Tian Tian made her choice undoubtedly said that this was the safest option. Etc. Lulu suddenly remembered the tone in which the boy named Lin Lin answered the question in the anatomy class. The options are so long and wordy. I see. After thinking for a moment, Lulu smiled slightly, and then quickly revealed a timid attitude, and whispered, I suddenly wanted to eat sweets. I couldn't find any in the school. I thought I could get out from here, and the teacher didn't tell us not to get close the main door. Sorry, we are new transfer students in class 2, grade 3, and the teacher didn't tell us the rules. Luliochuchu said pitifully. Didn't your teacher say that? The bald man pondered for a moment, then waved his hand impatiently. Let's go, no one can enter or leave through the gate without an entry permit. After Lulu finished speaking, the options in front of her disappeared. Really? Using similar language to modify the options can also be counted as making a choice. But different tones and different languages achieve different results. I remember Yiren's answer in class. Although he has never eaten those ghost meats, when Yilin answered, he used some ambiguous subjective feelings such as endless aftertaste, soul sublimation, traveling through the past and the future, about the saltiness of the taste and the texture of the meat. Taste, without mentioning a word, it is simply a lie. In other words, there is room for manipulation in answering multiple choice questions. Lulu came to a conclusion. Although Lulu didn't know the options Yilin faced at that time. But she couldn't help but sigh that the guy named Lin Lin had such a terrible mind that he used this roundabout answer to fool the question in another form in a very short period of time. Put aside your admiration for now. When Lulu heard what the guard said, her pupils couldn't help but shrink. Got it? Intelligence. Access permit. Maybe this is the key to escape? Although Lulu had planned to force the escort to pass, was this bald guard really just a guard? It's a pity that she doesn't have a skill similar to appraisal technique. If she can identify the guard's combat effectiveness, she can evaluate the possibility of forcing a way through. Lulu hesitated for a while and asked in a low voice, "That access permit, where should I find it?" When she originally asked this question, Lulu just asked with the mentality that she would not get pregnant even if she gave it a try. No big deal, just another multiple choice question. Moreover, turning around and leaving should be an obvious retreat. Since the guard took the initiative to ask for an access permit, if you follow his instructions and ask more questions, it shouldn't be as outrageous as triggering the instant death flag. Really? The guard waved his hand impatiently, turned around and walked back to the security booth, saying as he walked, go, if you want an access permit, go to the vice principal to get it." After saying that, the guard slammed the door shut. The wrinkled old dog at the door also closed its eyes again. "Vice Chancellor. Access permit. Get the information." Lulu didn't delay any more, and didn't dare to stay any longer, so she left quickly. Before leaving, she couldn't help but glance at the lock on the chain one more time, memorizing the shape of the keyhole. At this time, the rooftop of the teaching building. A wise spiritual apostle faced a seemingly simple but illogical problem. "Now, do you know what color the sky is?" "Sky?" Han Han looked confused and raised his head. The sky above Styx Junior High School was gray and cloudless, as if it was covered with a layer of haze. Although it is not a common blue, the color should be obvious. Is there any hidden poetic meaning in this sentence? Is it that complicated? Options also appeared in front of Han Han. A. The protective color of love. B. The color of your eyes. C. The same sky looks different in everyone's eyes. This question seems simple. But it's scary to think about it. What to do? How to choose? Why is it different from the original script? Didn't we agree to stand silently next to the girl and look at the same sky with her? So how come the romantic plot was tampered with? Han Han suddenly broke into a cold sweat, and countless thoughts came to his mind. But after a moment, he tried to calm down. Sure enough, a trial is a trial after all. It is not that simple and is full of surprises and surprises. Forget it, think about the color first. Han Han decided to analyze the options first. Option A, the protective color of love. At first glance, it seems to be the optimal solution. But when I thought about it carefully, I realized that he and the girl had never met each other before. He suddenly said this, which was very similar to the style of Playboy. It seemed to be the best, but in fact it was the most dangerous. If this girl has attributes such as hatch knife and hates scumbags, and he chooses A, the other party might instantly pull out a big knife from under her skirt and slash at him with her backhand. Although the scene is extremely unexpected and unreasonable, if you think about it in reverse, maybe the tower's urine properties can really make such a strange arrangement. Think about it. A. Excluded. Well, when you are in doubt, the elimination method is also excellent. Look at B again. What is the color of your eyes? Han Han has come to the girl's side at this time. From the girl's profile, it can be seen that the girl has a pair of clean black pupils, which cannot distinguish emotions. Moreover, the girl looks pure and cute, and she also has a kind of tranquility that is untainted by the mud. But, let's not discuss the appearance first. The color of the eyes is clear at a glance. Isn't option B clearly bullshit? You would choose B only if you are blind. Choose, I choose C. So Han Han bit the bullet, used the elimination method to get the answer, and said according to the options, the same sky looks different in everyone's eyes. Yeah. The girl lowered her eyelids and sighed quietly. What on earth is this? Is the answer correct or incorrect? Do you know? The girl didn't seem to have any intention of correcting Han Han's homework. After Han Han made his choice, she stared at the sky with confused eyes again. I heard that the sky at Styx Junior High School didn't look like this before. It was said that it was a more magnificent color. Too bad, I've never seen it. Someone took away that charming color. The girl's lines made Han Han more and more confused. What was going on? A bit weird. But when there was no multiple choice question coming, Han Han quickly lay down on the edge of the fence, followed the original script, and kept a certain distance from the girl, looking at the sky from the same angle. I just came here, and I don't know. I just think that whether the sky looks good or not does not actually depend on the color of the sky. After all, this is just a background. What really determines whether the scenery looks good is standing under the sky. Who are the people, and who are the people who appreciate the scenery? Perfect. After Han Han finished speaking, he clenched his fists and silently praised his wit. At this moment, Han Han looked down and took in the entire campus. Huh. There is. Door. In front of the gate, Han Han happened to see Tian Tian and Lulu arriving at the gate, and a guard with a reflective head walking out of the security booth seemed to be triggering some plot. It's okay. Oh, but it doesn't matter. I believe that it is impossible to put the answer there so easily in the trial. Since you have explored the road, if there is nothing there, I will go and have a look sooner or later, and it will be the same. Thinking of this, Han Han looked away and concentrated on analyzing the current situation. Yeah. The girl's eyes were blurry. Next second, she was finally interested by Han Han. She looked away from the sky, turned around and said with a smile, "So, are you the one who appreciates the scenery?" Yo West. A, what is the scenery you are talking about? B, you are a beautiful scenery in my eyes. C, bold and evil, I can tell at a glance that you are not human. Another drop of cold sweat broke out on Han Han's forehead. These options seemed to lead him to death. A. The straight man-like answer, pass. C. It's obviously a death option. Only choose if there is something wrong. B. I choose B. You are a beautiful scenery in my eyes. Real. Real. The girl seemed very happy. It's been a long time since I've been able to chat with anyone so happily. You're also in class 2, grade 3, right? After a round of charge, Han Han discovered that there was no option for this problem. For a while, I felt a little uncomfortable. But it seems that it is a matter of free play. How do you know? The girl pursed her lips and smiled, because class 2 of the third year has not had more than 20 students for a long time. 5 transfer students came at once. I think many people should know you. Han Han suddenly felt something was wrong. Why? Yeah, why? You want to know? The girl narrowed her eyes and laughed. Those eyes are like crescent moons, making your heart skip a beat. But the girl's words also caught your attention. Why, according to the girl, class 2 of grade 3 has only had no more than 20 students for so many years, but this year there are suddenly 5 more transfer students. Your confused expression was noticed by the girl. The girl seems to be very interested in you. The girl seems to be very interested in you. The girl seems really interested in you. So you muster up the courage. Please choose. A. You decide to ask for clarification. B. You decide not to ask any more questions for the time being and we'll talk about it tomorrow. C. You decide not to pay attention to the girl anymore, give up on this encounter, leave the girl with a scumbag-like back, turn around and leave, never to return. Options appeared in front of me. Another difficult multiple-choice question. Han Han camped step by step. In a situation where information was ready to come out and was on his lips, he felt that if he gave up at this time, he would be a little reluctant to give up. Besides, the scumbag's back in option C always reminds him of a bad ending. As for option B, if it's normal, there seems to be nothing wrong with it. But in this weird trial, once you choose let's talk tomorrow, it is very likely that you will never see tomorrow again. This is obviously similar to countless classic scenes that have been circulated for hundreds of years. I will definitely come back. The result never came back. After this war is over, I will go back to my hometown and get married. As a result, the fiancé from my hometown was quickly taken over. Is my son about to be born? 10 years later, the son looked at his father's photo and paid a silent tribute. The reward for this job is unmatched by any previous job. In the end, the reward was used to buy a coffin. Han Han just thought about it casually. There were countless cases of people dying after setting a flag. Think of this. Han Han decided to ask for clarification. The girl stops talking. The expression of biting your lower lip makes you feel inexplicably distressed. Is this love? Maybe not. Who knows? The girl hesitated for a while and looked around, as if she had finally made up her mind to tell you a secret that no one knew. This secret is of great importance, like a Pandora's secret garden, so charming and dangerous that you can't help but fall into it. You stare into the girl's black eyes, waiting for the girl to tell her secret. The girl smiled and said, "But, it's a little inconvenient here. Why don't we find a cleaner place and I can tell you more?" After saying that, the girl lowered her head. Xiaofei's cheeks were filled with shyness. Hiss. Han Han suddenly took a breath of cold air. This sudden change of painting style caught him off guard. Etc. Why did this car suddenly start drifting? The speed is a bit fast. Or is he overthinking it? But this shy expression made it difficult for him not to think more. Wrong. Han Han's eyes narrowed. It must be a trap. It's just that this trap is too obvious. The word sex has a knife on the head. Who the hell would overturn in a place like this? Haha, you underestimate me, Xia Venhan. Xia Venhan shook his head, and in an instant he saw this peach trap thoroughly. At this time, the options emerged without any surprise. A. You decide to find a secret place that no one has discovered, and explore the deepest mysteries with the girl. B. With a righteous and awe-inspiring expression, you tell the girl that there is no need to hide it, just tell the secret here boldly. C. Bold and evil, I can tell at a glance that you are not human. Xia Venhan saw the answer at a glance. Only B looks normal. No doubt. After being bombarded with a series of multiple-choice questions, Xia Venhan gradually figured out his thinking. As long as you avoid the instant death flag option that will obviously cause you to ascend to the sky, this trial is not as difficult as you might imagine. Xia Venhan chose B with a smile. He told the girl his decision. The girl lowered her head and smiled, her expression hesitant, but she quickly shook her head reluctantly. Okay then. Right now. Xia Venhan didn't know why, but the previous multiple-choice question flashed through his mind. After he made his choice, he felt something was wrong. Why does the exact same C option, which seems to obviously trigger the death flag, appear twice in a short period of time? And it's the kind that doesn't change every word? Why? Does it make sense for an option that can be eliminated at a glance to appear twice? Xia Venhan didn't have time to think carefully. The girl in front of her suddenly made a move. I saw her smiling slightly and elegantly twirling the skirts on both sides of her short skirt with her hands. No one could have guessed that what was hidden under the skirt was the ultimate shady story, or some kind of secret that no one knew about. Suddenly, while smiling, the girl suddenly lifted up her skirt and turned it upside down, revealing a mysterious scene. Xia Venhan.